In the sky, gazing far into the night, I raise my hand to the fire, but it's no use, 'cause you can't stop it from shining through. It's true, baby, let the light shine through. If you believe it's true, baby, won't you let the light shine through for you. In the sky, gazing far into the night, I raise my hand to the fire, but it's no use, 'cause you can't stop it from shining through. It's true, baby, let the light shine through. If you believe it's true, baby, won't you let the light shine through for you.
Hello everybody and welcome back to the World Snooker Championship action, and this time around it is going to be the greatest player of all time, the 7-time world champion, up against the debutant in the first round. It is going to be Ronnie O'Sullivan looking to still and try achieve that incredible record-breaking milestone of 8 world crowns to his name. He's managed to receive 8 Masters and the UK Championship, and now can he try and finish off his incredible career full of achievements with another great milestone? And probably, if you could argue with anyone, it is going to be the most important of them all. Ever since the start of his journey in the World Championship in 2001, in terms of the ones that he's managed to win, ever since 2022, where he managed to beat Watchalong, the player that is looking to desperately avoid a disaster in the first round, and managed to come back from Gary Wilson of trailing 4 frames to 1 to now 5 frames to 4 of a lead. When it comes to Ronnie, he had a quarter-final loss to Luca Brazil, where he led 10 frames to 6, lost 7 frames in the bounce, and lost that match 13 frames to 10. Then Stuart Bingham in the quarter-final of the 2024 as well, where he lost out despite having a 9-0 draw. He lost that match 13 frames to 10, just ran out of steam in session number 3. And then, of course, the last season defeat to the eventual winner of the 2025 World Championship, Xiao Xingtong, competing against the Rocket as an amateur status. He certainly wasn't leaving anything behind him and beat Ronnie O'Sullivan with a session to spare by 17 frames to 7. But can he try and write his own history here? Because listen, it's going to be down to a potential chance for either Ronnie O'Sullivan or Shea Gok-yeon, and try and achieve something that, neither one of them has certainly done it. Of course, Ronnie is going to be looking for a chance to try and extend his fantastic record of so many appearances at the Crucible and try and get himself through to the second round as well. To join the class of 92, one of them to join in the second round clash against John Higgins. Absolutely fantastic match that could be very much on the horizon. And of course, let's not forget that we've got the player that Ronnie O'Sullivan said will become a world champion in 3 years' time. Wu Yize up against Li Beifan, and right now it is looking very nicely for the world number 12 as he leads Li Beifan by 8 frames to 1. Ultimately, you have to say it will be down to the form of Ronnie O'Sullivan. Can he try and find a little bit of it? We'll have to wait and see. For now, he certainly makes his way towards the table, and I don't really know why, but you can see the stream starting for me, and he's going to be, walking to the wrong table, trying to give a little bit of a fist bump to the Li Beifan and Wu Yize. So, yeah, it is going to be Ronnie's break there. So, straight away, appearance that is going to be remembered for a little bit of time. Shea Gok-yeon is going to be sharing the arena with the greatest of all time. They have already met twice beforehand, and of course, one of them was the last appearance, I'm pretty sure, of Ronnie O'Sullivan in the Home Nation series, where he lost by 4 frames to 2. Clearly, it's a little bit of a strong language, but didn't want to be there. Felt like just get me out of there, and still managed to win 2 frames on his way to losing 4 frames to 2. And then, of course, last season in the International Championship, in the first round, he was against Shea Gok-yeon as a wild card from China, and then he was playing him and managed to beat him by 6 frames to 2. So it was a really good performance for him at the end stage, but right now you probably have to say it will be a little bit of a different situation there. Hi, old Blockbuster. Well, Kevin doesn't turn up for any other one, and yeah, nice to see you in the chat as well. Ultimately, it is going to be at the end. You have to say Ronnie O'Sullivan has got this match as the one to lose. Ultimately, you have to say he's the favourite, but I also have to say, for me, it was a very interesting prediction there at the end, because you have to go in between 6-3 and 5-4, because you can't really say first session where you haven't seen Ronnie to play competitive snooker for a month pretty much. Well, more than that really, because we've seen him at the World Open. We haven't seen him at the Welsh, not at the Tour Championship. He decided to try and miss that. And, well, at the end point, it is going to be trying to turn up fresh for the World Championship. Let's see if he's going to be able to last 17 days. He's not going to be playing for every single one of them, but ultimately that's the duration of the tournament. And, the fact that he's going to be commuting to Sheffield may actually give him a little bit of a, I'd say he's probably going to give him a little bit of a good rhythm. because he's always so keen on trying to, keep up his fitness, go for a run, go to the gym and stuff like that. And he says that he actually keeps him in a nice mood as well. As for now, the first frame does seem like it is going to take a little bit of time to sort out the positioning, because so many reds are ready to be compromised, as well as, the blacks not necessarily to be in the best positional spot as well. And yeah, it's going to be all down to Ronnie trying to make his journey to the second round as easy as he can, because he certainly needs to, if he does reach the second round, preserve a little bit of energy to try and defeat John Higgins in the second round already. Certainly a blockbuster that could be on the horizon if Higgins and Ronnie are to face each other. Well, Higgins has done his part of the thing, managed to defeat Ali Carter with a great performance by 10 frames to 7, and it is now going to be all down to a first chance here for Ronnie, because he's got the angle to try and get around the black. Whether he wants to try and go for that straight away, probably not for now. So he's just going to try and go for a little bit of a swerve around. Oh, that's a bit of a bad catch there, but he manages to push one of those reds that I thought was going to be over the corner pocket, a little bit closer towards the side cushion, and ultimately with the yellow being the yellow being knocked out away from its spot towards the cushion, the cue ball is going to be around its spot, and that leaves Watchalong with a potential chance to try and go for the red into the right corner. But this time around, because it's going to be a bit of a different story here in comparison to what you've seen from O'Sullivan, because there is going to be a line for the cue ball to get out of. Ooh, that's a bit of a bad shot there. And let's see if it is going to be first points to be scored from Ronnie O'Sullivan's point of view. He's got two reds, neither of them is easy. And I would say one is more difficult than the other when it comes to the positional play. Yeah, if you look at the reds next to the left corner, there is going to be the black to play for, but you have to be alongside or underneath it, which makes it really difficult for you to try and get through that shot. So let's see what Ronnie's approach is going to be. Carefully cued nicely, and he was going to be leaving that cue ball underneath the black quite comfortably. And it is going to be the first point of the match to go Ronnie O'Sullivan's way, and we can just say that's it. And we've seen enough get Ronnie through to the second round. But no, of course, we want to savour and enjoy him getting through to potentially meet John Higgins in round 2 of the last 16. Because, if you could just give him the 8 title because he's got 8 next to his name on the score sheet, then it would be a little bit boring. And I say he will take a little bit of credibility out of his name as well. For now, a long bridge over the black and the red, trying to take the red into the left middle. Oh, that's a bad miss. Straight away, it will take a little bit of time for him to adjust because, so far, it's only 3 shots played, one of them missed, and that red, usually the one that you would not expect Ronnie to miss unless he's playing very badly, but because it's the first frame, there is going to be a little bit of nerves and stuff. Let's see what Watchalong can try and offer, because, the red that I said could be the second one for Ronnie to choose from to start the break is about to be taken now by the player from China. And it is going to be the blue into the left middle. So now Ronnie has to try and, get his head in the right direction. Make sure that it's a difficult table. It's a really difficult table for the first frame. For now, we certainly would expect him to play a little bit better. But once again, it's only one shot. And let's see what Cher's going to be able to do here, because he's got a very difficult blue here to try and take. He's taken that one well with full power on the cue ball. And, he has finished perfectly on the side cushion, which I feel like if it's not going to end the break now, it may well do that in 2 shots time, because it's going to be very difficult for him to try and play for the blue, which means he needs to play for the black, which means that sort of a limited section of the area he's going to have to try and work with around. Well, he's trying to go for a shot at the blue, which I say he's got no chance of trying to make, and he's had to think about it. But once again, the reason is he's got 2 reds to avoid as he comes down the table, and then 2 reds to avoid as he comes back for the blue. It's going to be very difficult for him to finish perfectly well. So he's trying to play for the black. I mean, it's not a bad shot this is, because ultimately he's managing to be super close to the black here. And in the end, allowing himself to try and play through the black, get that cue ball to be pointing in the right direction into the left corner of the table. Wants to avoid the cannon on the red, closest to the black, and in the end, he's played that one pretty well, although still, the table is not really going to be his biggest friend right now, because he's still got a very difficult line to try and take it for the blue. The black is going to be an easier shot for you to play for with a tick, but the positional shot on the black, ooh, that's That's not really the way for you to be playing a shot there. You've missed the red, which you probably can classify as a sitter. I know that red that O'Sullivan missed wasn't pretty either, but that was worse there. Way too much of the front jaw to be caught. And, well, listen, you put that to nerves for Ronnie O'Sullivan. You may as well do that for Watchalong. Ronnie played that one well, although he's played that with a plan, so he needs to make sure that black is going to be possible for him. Seems to be walking pretty confidently, which would suggest that there is going to be an opening for that black to be taken, and certainly is. He wants to make sure that he doesn't force too much of the back end jaw, but as I say, if he was to be doing that and be touching the red, then he would miss the shot anyway. So for now, 16 points, and he's back ahead there in the match. A little bit underplayed in relation to the other red to be taken into the right corner. And yeah, if you can try and go for this one into the left part of the table, once again, if you're going to be carefully placing that cue ball underneath the black for one more shot, and then the following shot off the black should be finally freeing up the black ball spot perfectly well because of the red being eliminated there. Or a little bit too much of the front jaw. Ronnie there giving himself a little bit of a face expression to say that he's not happy. 10 points advantage there. He's going to be his for the taking. And it's a very interesting frame, to be fair, because you probably have to say, in the way that it looks right now, he probably will be one of those frames where if you take yourself a 40 points of a gap, especially if it's going to be Ronnie's point of view, because he's going to be the top seeded player of the two players. And they just played a bit of a weird shot there. Not even a bad shot, but a really weird shot where he had 5 reds to aim at, and he seems like he's going to be on one by around, sort of halfway there realistically. And it's similar to the red that he's missed into the left middle, but this time around there's not going to be any doubt with the red making the back of the pocket. And he's still going to be lined up nicely to try and get around the black ball cushion, play that cue ball through the black and get himself lined up for the straight line of 3 reds to be taken into the corner, one after another. So then 32 points on the current break. So far he's been using only blacks there with the reds, which is not a surprise. Now 27 points is the difference, and he's going to be looking to try and get the black into the left corner. Make sure that cue ball is going to bounce once again with a huge impact as he positions himself for 2 more reds, which will get him probably down to the last red with the open play. But at that stage, I feel like the points that he would have scored had he, if he manages to continue scoring those points with a black and just doesn't miss any one of those easy reds, and then he should be lined up nicely for an early frame win and getting himself through and try and get past that red, making sure he's going to be on the top side of it. He can be straight. It's as long as he's not going to be on the lower side of it. That will force him to try and play into the pink and potentially could compromise him on the next shot. It doesn't seem like he's too happy either. Of course, ideally, he wants to try and play around the black there. Make sure he's going to be positioned for the reds on the right-hand side of it, whether it's going to be a shot for the left middle or carefully taking that red into the corner. He's trying to get in behind the red, which makes the shot easier, letting the referee through as well, which is very nice. Making sure that he's not going to be involved with too many of those arguments. But to be fair, the last time he did, he won the World Championship, so it wouldn't be too bad. Although, of course, he was in the final against Trump. And more importantly, he's about to be lined up for a frame ball as he takes the red into the middle. Now, the brown into the middle has average shot time incredibly, 14 seconds. I mean, it's almost like he's got trained to catch the Dublin because, what happens if he's going to be playing in an evening session? That's going to be a nightmare for him. He might have to stay in Sheffield for one more day. But joking aside, as I say, it's been a really good break of 61 points, and it is going to be Ronnie O'Sullivan, barring 2 snookers that Watchalong needs. He's going to be able to take the first blood away. And GG's frame, yes, certainly. Just try and take it on a frame-by-frame basis because he's probably very unlikely to make a century out of it. I'm not sure if he's looking at the scoreboard or he's looking at the members of the crowd that he's not going to be necessarily happy with. So just carefully try and take the pace away from the red, that just roll that one with the cloth. And he's done that really well, especially with how, there was a little bit of pace behind it as well. Now the blue and trying to separate the reds away from each other, but there was more than enough room for Ronnie to try and get that cue ball in behind and around those two. So now he's going to be, once again, not too happy with himself, but it's probably a nice thing to say. Because unless he makes a 155, he shouldn't be happy, or he makes an 8 world title. So let's see if Watchalong is going to try and do the special Ronnie thing, where he plays on, even though there's going to be way too sneakers to play. And no, it's only going to be the 7-time world champion thing. And Ronnie O'Sullivan takes the first frame of the round 1, and he's going to lead Watchalong by 1-0. And I was going to say this before the match has started, but I will say it now. Whatever happens, it won't be very long and boring to be watching, that's for sure, because even if that is the case, Ronnie will turn up to the scene and he'll make sure that he speeds things up. Whether it's going to be by losing or winning, you never quite know, but he certainly should be the one to try and entertain the crowd and the public. By the way, the guy next to him, I mean, fair play to him, because every single time I watch the match, he seems to be there. Seems to be changing suits as well, so fair play, honestly. Even Ronnie's looking in his direction as if to say, well, I've seen that guy on social media. But anyway, lovely stuff. Stan Moody should never have gone for that black. He lost him the game against, it was Karen Wilson, it wasn't against Williams, unless he's talking about Anthony Kowalski, because both of them have already been eliminated. But listen, it's a thing for Stan where he had a really good break in that frame number 17. He's managed to eliminate all sorts of issues. That pink, I feel like he got the lineup a little bit too far away from the pink, but he had the right angle, which he just tried to force that one a little bit too much. I mean, commentators have been saying that he should have rolled that one. I genuinely feel like he should have hit through it. It's just that, of course you have to judge the power really well. And but listen, it's one of them where he genuinely wanted to go for that black because he felt like he wasn't going to get another chance, or he doesn't want to wait for another chance. Either one of those two things is going to be valid. But one thing I will say is that he did have an easy safety and he should not have gone for that black. And, I'm pretty sure everyone, and me included, was seeing that. Yes, legend in all. Yeah, I mean, honestly, man, like, it's great. He's great because, like, you see that familiar face and you never see that in snooker, at least for me. At least it's going to be, one of the parties involved. If it's going to be a coach, if it's going to be a relative, if it's going to be a friend, stuff like that, where you get tickets for. And apparently, I mean, I'm really shocked that, you get 6 players apparently for a player in the main draw, but a player is supposed to pay for them. And I'm a bit like, well, the point of that is a bit like, yeah, you got a special ticket to the car, but you still have to pay for that car. Ooh, that was a bit of an ambition shot there. It's a break-off shot that comes in, and then Ronnie's still 5 seconds later, he's down to try and hit the long range into the corner. I felt like this is going to be probably the most important thing for him to improve on as the World Championship goes further and further, because so far he's been a little bit dreadful with them, not gonna lie. Apart from World Open, even in Saudi, he's been dreadful with them, way too, many mistakes if you compare the number of shots that he's taken to the ones that he's actually made to the corner of the pocket. And watched many games today. Yeah, listen, plenty of action and plenty of good stuff as well, because we haven't seen any whitewashes, any 10-1 so far, although he's on his way to potentially lose only his second frame of the match against Li Pei-Fan. And he's got a lead of 8 frames to 2. Well, Ronnie didn't make the first long raid. Can he try and make it second? It's a really good line there. Fantastic cueing. And look at that for that run of the cue ball. It seems like, wow, that was absolutely brilliant cueing. Look at that top spin off the black ball cushion through the gap of 2 reds. Positioned perfectly for the blue. All the ball colours to choose from. I feel like I don't really want to see him trying to go into the reds so quickly. And I'm really glad that I wasn't seeing that, because the pink is a little bit too far back from the reds. And, there are a couple for you to try and make your way through first, because this could impact the black as well, which is something that Ronnie doesn't want to do. As he now getting himself through and positioned for the black here to be taken into the left-hand side of the table. So once again, just checking to see the angle that he has got will allow him to try and potentially cannon the red on the left-hand side out of the way. That's exactly what he's done. He played that shot really well in terms of he's managed to preserve both of these reds and be on the one that he was playing for. Once again, very quick stuff now from Ronnie, getting 2 chances in, whereas there was probably only one of those reds available. And yeah, of course, missed out on the first long shot with his first shot of the second frame. But then with the second one, managed to find a gap in between the yellow and blue and take that red fantastically well. It'll be a massacre. I wouldn't say so. People were saying there would have been a massacre in the match against Bingham, against Brazil. It wasn't really, was it, at the end? Never underestimate anyone at the Crucible. If Shep managed to get himself through the qualifiers, which I have been watching a couple of them, I have to say, I wasn't really too impressed. with the way that he was playing, as Ronnie there decides to give Olivier Martial a little bit of a breathing space and goes back to his seat. And he'll be in the final. We hope it's O'Sullivan winning his 8th. Well, listen, I'll be there, but we are 4 long matches behind of that being the case. You know, so many sessions, so many frames, so many pots for you to try and make, and so many days ahead of you as well. And look at that. You think about the final. Never a fan of Ronnie taking very long breaks in between the shot. Of course, that wasn't down to him, but missing out on that red into the front jaw by a little bit of a distance, that's down to the cueing. Unfortunately, whatever you say about it, Ronnie never misses those shots when he comes down to, you know, hitting the ball really well. Clearly didn't hit that one well, and it's now going to be Xie Guoshan comes back to the table here. Don't know why it feels like he's playing for the blue, but of course he's trying to. Well, Ronnie can afford to be doing that. I don't really understand what the Xie Guoshan is doing here, because he's going for everything, Stan Moody style, but what he needs to realise is that he finds himself against a 7-time world champion, and he needs to try and take the pedal off the foot off the pedal a little bit, because, you know, the red that he was taking on is more difficult than the red O'Sullivan is about to take. And O'Sullivan makes his without the cue ball to be dropped into the middle. I had to change that last second because I genuinely thought that was going to come into the middle pocket. And a huge shot on the blue. And gets a little bit of a lucky kiss of the brown. He's still going off there, by the way. Wrong side of a blue. Kiss of the brown. And he's still not going to be anywhere near that red to be played into the right corner. And listen, it's going to be down to those things where Ronnie just needs to try and get all those points available. But when he can't do anything, make sure you play the right shot, play the safety, and then you're going to be, well, especially from what we've seen in 1.5 frames, you're certainly going to be down there with another chance to try and make the second opportunity right for you. But you'll have to be the third one on this frame. As you can see, you already had 4 breaks there and scored 107 points in less than, 10 minutes since the match has started? A little bit more than that, actually. But anyway, he's about to be lined up for another safety battle here as Xie Guoshan playing a very thin cut on the red. Needs to make sure he doesn't catch that one too thick, to be fair, because, that was close. I mean, I genuinely thought he was going to be close towards the red on the right side cushion, which could have worked as a handbrake for the cue ball and bring the white to be staying on the lower end of the table. That wasn't the case. And now we're going to be down to Ronnie trying to take the safety shot and down to his hands. Thank you very much, Kevin. Appreciate that. By the way, I was waiting for you to be out there, but we're certainly going to give you as a standard moderator. I don't know why, by the way. You are going to be the third of the big cheeses to be there, but sorry about that. You certainly have been a great journey ever since the Xi'an Grand Prix, the start of it, I'd say, from the qualifiers, English Open. You correct me. That was in September, so thank you very much for sticking with the channel. And everyone, if you want to be a legend of the chat, be like Kevin. Great stuff out there. But now, one shot later, Ronnie's managed to get that cue ball just about close enough for the bulk line so that he's going to be behind the brown and the yellow, or the brown is about to disappear. It's a fantastic long shot there, but unfortunately, it doesn't quite count. He's supposed to do that with a red Xie Guoshan as he was trying to take that cue ball all the way to the top-hand side of the table. It is now going to be a red available for Ronnie O'Sullivan. Of course, you don't get a ball in hand, but is he going to be a fantastic long red? That is brilliantly struck there by Ronnie. Gets a little bit of a fortunate kiss off the red to make sure that cue ball is not going to get stuck in monster reds. Look at that. That is a brilliant cue shot. Didn't touch the jaws. Ronnie is here to play, at least for now, when he hasn't got any sort of problems trying to deal with his opponent. We'll see if those appear later on in the match. For now, he needs to try and focus on himself. He needs to bring that cue ball down the table, especially, well, preferably, I would say, from the left-hand side. And look at that, he's animated and he's unhappy, and he won't be now because he was trying to give a little kick towards the blue as if to say, get out of the way. He didn't get out of the way. And now Ronnie is going to be the one snookered here in behind the blue. So once again, it's one of those positions where you just have to make sure you play the patient game. And, Ronnie feels like he's a little bit too quick to pick out those shots, especially like the safety that he's just played, leaving a red over the corner. Doesn't really need to be doing there, but once again, may have to just try and use it as a tactic. I'm not necessarily against it for now, because, for him to try and speed up the flow of the frame. especially with having a 35 points of a gap. It will be a huge if for Shea. Wow, that is a horrible miss. I mean, that I could have made that 5 times out of 10. I mean, he's going to be laughing and smiling there, but he's going to be absolutely... No way. You make that 10 times out of 10 from a different angle. I mean, what was that for the miss? But listen, Ronnie doesn't have to worry about it. His job is to try and get the red into the same pocket. He's cued that one nicely, and you can see that spin kicking into the cue ball before it touched the red, which is always going to be a little bit of a slow down just to make sure that it doesn't hit that one with too much power. Never been a power player. All about technique and accuracy. But listen, that's going to be perfect for him. We've seen Liam Highfield challenge Zhao Xingtong till the end. We've seen Gary Wilson get off to a flyer against Trump. I could put that 10 out. Well, this is what I'm saying there. You know, forget about the colour. He wasn't on the colour anyway, but what was that? How can you, especially if you're going to be sort of undercutting that one? I mean, it's very interesting. 8-1 in... Listen, I wouldn't go that far. It should be 2-0, and that's about as far as you can go for. And if Ronnie makes it through to the second round, it will be a very difficult match against Higgins, but he's nowhere near to be there. And you can't win in the first session, so you could always have a problem for him with his tip, with his cue, or anything else. And then his opponent turns up with playing the snooker of his life. We've seen that before. For now, he just needs to try and get his game pointing in the right direction. Make sure that spin is working out well for him, whilst it's not going to be sacrificing pot success too much. And those are the shots to test it. Really nice line there. Of course, didn't have the black, as it's now on the left side cushion. And had to try and play that shot with topspin, whilst making sure he keeps that cue ball away from the left middle. So I'm carefully taking the blue now. Loads of spin and side. And once again, off 2 cushions. Look at that bounce, by the way. Like, that's purely because of spin. And the way that he's hitting the cue ball, he's getting the perfect bounce to make sure the white is going to be in the middle of the table. So that he's going to be a little bit closer to those reds, so that he doesn't have as much of a problem to try and pot any of them. Meanwhile, 54 points is the advantage. 19 points on the break. And just looking now to try and eliminate... Well, a couple more reds, I would say. He's 75 points at the table right now. He needs a red, a colour, and another red there, unless he takes it with a black, which is going to be out of position. So probably down to just carefully taking this red towards the middle. Make sure you're going to be lined up for the pink. And then, of course, as he's taking those 2 reds into the left middle, whilst getting behind of them, the third red, which would have been joined them, is about to be taken into the same pocket. Or, right now, he finally gets a little bit of variety, as he's got 67 points of the advantage to 67 at the table. Yeah, he certainly seems like he's a little bit of a rush, but it may just be down to the rhythm. Although, I mean, when you talk about that incredible 147, you always said that that was the worst one because you could never replicate it, because the next shot he was very much afraid of. So I hope it's going to be a sign of great confidence and not the opposite of that. But the queuing seems to be fine, to be fair. I mean, the queuing certainly was fine in that 147. But when it comes to just the way that he seems like he's positioning himself, he's looking to see where that cue ball is going to be. The face expressions of the first frame seems to have disappeared. So which is a sign that he's happy with the way that he's hitting those reds. He's happy with the position of the cue ball. The breaks are coming in. Yes, it's not going to be a century. Well, at least unlikely to be. Unless, can he see enough points for the century break? If he takes 54, no, he's going to be on 97 as a total clearance. With 2 more very difficult reds there as he takes the black nicely. But 89 plays nil. Certainly been a very quick second frame there to add to the first one. But at least, you know, Shea had a couple of chances in the first one in terms of points scored. Of course, he had that sitter of the reds. I mean, you can't call that anything else, which he missed over the corner. And then that was something that Ronnie clearly thought to himself, well, you know what, if he misses like that, I can't allow him to get away with this one. But look at that. I mean, that red next to the right side cushion is probably one of the most difficult attacking shots that you can play. He thinks about it for 2 seconds, then he plays it. That was absolutely brilliant. And whilst I was explaining that, he's already managed to take the black, and he's going to be on the yellow. It is going to be great to see pockets have been tightened up to the world. They use to play to open. Well, just as is he going to fluke the yellow? He will fluke the yellow. It's not quite as Ding Zhouyi against him, and it's not going to matter for the century break. But yeah, he just sort of shakes it off there and just says, well, you know what, you take it. And snooker gods are clearly very happy to see Ronnie O'Sullivan to be playing in the second frame of the first round And hopefully, I'm going to be saying the first frame of the second round very, very soon against John Higgins. And once again, that's no disrespect to his opponent, but there's one thing about being a 7-time world champion, but there's another thing about being a 7-time world champion through to the second round to try and play John Higgins to give us 2 absolute crackers of a match. Could be 3. Could be 3 if Mark Selby and Weezer progress to the second round. It will be certainly a hell of a cracker, that is. For now, Ronnie O'Sullivan is absolutely taking this table by storm. I mean, no wonder he wanted to go to table 2, because 1 table seems like it's not enough for him. Incredible stuff there. You can barely keep up with him, and it's a break of 97 points, which gets him through to a very comfortable lead already after just 2 of those frames to be played. It is now Ronnie O'Sullivan 2, Shego Sean 0. And what do you say about this one? I mean, there's not a lot to say about Shego Sean. Just needs to try and get his head in the right direction. But for now, it seems like it's going to be a very difficult thing for him to try and handle. Because as you can see with the Ronnie O'Sullivan scoreline, he just seems to find himself in a position where even if he's not, playing fantastic snooker, he still finds himself playing the right shot at the right time with the right bit of power. And it just seems like he's absolutely powering through those shots without having to have a second think about him. He's always got that thinking process of trying to see what's going to be in 3 shots time or so. But right now, it just feels like he had to do that at the start and at the beginning of the frame. By the point where he managed to separate the reds and make them all to be in open play, it feels like he just hits it, then he looks at it, and then he hits it again. And then, no more questions asked there. No more course given. That's exactly what Ronnie has done so far, and let's see if the third frame is going to be the same, because I hope so. And I said we haven't seen any whitewashes. Well, I'll tell you what, if it is to come in the match with Ronnie O'Sullivan, I'll be there for it. And I'll be absolutely delighted if that is the case. I actually was a little bit surprised when they were saying that it's pretty much about as likely to be 15 frames, 15 frames or more as it is 14 frames or less. So for now, it certainly seems like they were right. I genuinely thought this could be a real match on their hands, but as I say, that was down to Ronnie playing some really bad snooker, which fingers crossed we won't see today. And tomorrow, remember, this match won't end today, so the enjoyable part of it is going to be spread out across 2 days: 2:30 today, 2:30 tomorrow. Because the evening today is going to be finished with 2 other great matches to be finishing. Fang Jingyu looking to challenge Sean Murphy. 5-4 Murphy leads, and certainly we'll be looking at that first row to make sure nobody's shouting anything negative to him. And then it will be Gary Wilson that is trailing Judd Trump somehow, despite leading 4 frames to 1 and having the most incredible of those frames beforehand. But it is the world number 1 that is able to find those snookers when he has to, and was able to win that frame at the end. That would be great. Can't call that Selby. Yeah, the problem is Weezer is not too far away. I'm not saying he's there, but he's not too far away from being in the second round. Shego Sean looking to try and cue this red into the corner. Oh, that is a brilliant shot there. Let's see if he's going to be on the colour. And I'll tell you what, he's not bad. He's not bad on the brown, The position is not too bad either. I mean, he got plenty of queuing behind that cue ball. So even if he was going to miss that red, as long as he didn't leave the same red available to Ronnie O'Sullivan, it would have been a real threat for him. Right now, he's going to be thinking between yellow and brown to be taken here. I felt like brown is a little bit easier in relation to getting on the collar, but yellow is easier to pot for you. So, it's not a nice shot that he's played. And I'm not really sure what he was playing for, because if he was playing for a shot into the right corner, which is the only red that he can go for right now, then I do have to ask the question of why was he doing that? Because unless I'm missing something, he's doing the topspin, which means he's trying to get around the black. He needs to play the shot with power though, and he's sort of done that now. He's just about, to be fair, he's fine on the black here, so it's not too bad. Now he's just trying to make himself available for those 3 reds to be taken into the right corner, trying to get really low on the white. And then we'll see what's going to happen here, because if he's trying to disturb those reds, then it's certainly going to be a real thing for him to try and do. And in the end, it seems like it didn't really disturb them. He just put 1 red towards the main pack. So this is now going to be a really interesting situation, because 14 points of a break, it was under different circumstances. Because even though at that point Ronnie wasn't ahead, it was a very difficult position for you to try and win the frame from. But now the position is closed up, but it's not difficult. in relation to one good shot, and all of a sudden you could be in there with a 60 or even a 75% of a chance of winning the whole frame. But of course, nerves are going to be there to kick in as well. But you feel like after you lose 2 frames, I feel like you get a little bit frustrated where, nerves are not really going to be there. Nerves are going to be if you're leading 2-0 or it's the first frame and you don't know what to expect. Like, you've seen what O'Sullivan's just done, and you just have to be like, well, I'm already behind. If I get nervous, it's going to be even worse. Of course, easier said than done. He wants to be, he's sort of in between there because he's played for the blue here. He's going to be on the top side of it, but he needs to play this shot with topspin because he can't, get really deep onto the white because of the positioning of it. Oh, that doesn't look too good, to be fair. It seems like it's going to be very close for that red to be taken into the corner. I'm not even sure he goes into the corner, by the way. I mean, he probably will, because otherwise he would not have gone for it. But I get the impression that he was trying to play for the middle. Let's see what it's going to be there. Is he trying to hit this red into the corner? The camera doesn't really tell you the picture. No. Wow. I mean, that's very surprisingly no body language to suggest that he messed that one up, because he has certainly messed that one up. He had 2 more reds available. And yeah, it just seemed like it's a bit like, well, you know what? It is what it is, and we're going to have to try and go with it again. He's got 25 points of a cushion, which, statistically for me, when you get that against Ronnie, it always seems to work. Not always, but majority of the time it seems to work and put a little bit more pressure on him. And he does bring your chances massively up in relation to winning the frame. Because I feel like naturally, he sort of forces him to go for more of those attacking shots because he feels like he's behind. Although there's not really a need to be doing that. Let's see if he can try and cue another red really well into the corner. He's done that before. Can he do it again? Wow. The first red was brilliant. That is just about as good as he was in the last time, because that is brilliant there from Watchalong. And Crucible does funny things to players. Yeah, absolutely. Like, the thing about this one is it would be way too easy for Ronnie O'Sullivan won the first 2 frames and then that will be match over. Even in the first session, it would be session over there. No, it won't be the case. Because he felt like at a certain stage, of course, the crowd would want to see Cher do a little bit better because, they want to get their tickets worth of money worth of tickets. It's an interesting shot that he's played. He needs that cue ball to be positioned with an angle to try and take it towards the blue. And it seems like it's actually working out pretty well for him. So, once again, Watchalong is going to have a good think about the way that he wants to go on about the business of taking the red into the right corner and position himself for another shot of the corner as well. So it just feels like he's going to have something to say about this particular frame. He wants to be playing those shots pretty well on the cue ball side of things, though, because if he's going to be overplaying for the blue, like he's done a little bit there, it's going to be fine to a certain extent, because you will have the green to be available, not so much the brown and yellow, as they seem to be in the way of each other. But of course, another thing for him to consider is that, do you try and play the shot into the reds, compromised by the pink as well, or do you just try and make sure that you get as many of those points as you can, or is it going to be down to something else? So, points left 99, which is interesting because he's nowhere near the finish line here for now, but he's still got 35 points of a lead here. So, I mean, he's got an interesting red here, which is pretty much on the black ball spot, but the way that he needs to try and play for the blue, oh, that one, he was forcing that one a little bit too much. Let's see if he's going to get away with this one. He will, to me. Yes, he will. That's fortunate that. That's fortunate that, and Ronnie will be disappointed that he's not going to get anything out of it, but yeah, you feel like he was nowhere near the blue, by the way, I'm just saying, and he would have been playing for the pink here, obviously, but, oosh. Sorry, nearly reset the whole thing. I'm really glad I've got undo button, because otherwise that would have been the end of a break. And let's see what Ronnie has done with his safety, because he needed to make sure that he's covered up the red by the right corner. It seemed like it's a decent line with the blue in relation to the blue being sort of in position to try and hamper the cue ball. But yeah, it's going to be very interesting to see if Shea's able to try and get around it. But for now, the answer seems to be negative, which forces him to try and go for a defensive shot there. And of course, the same is going to be relevant to Watchalong there, because, if he's going to leave that red to the corner, it depends on where the cue ball is going to be placed. That's true, but at the same time, you don't really want that cue ball to be faced anywhere for you to leave a red out to Ronnie O'Sullivan. Oh, this is going to be interesting. He's put another red to be close to the corner. Well, this is going to be a challenge for Ronnie, which he likes. This isn't anything but an easy position. Like, the first shot is not the simplest one in the world. So let's see the way that he handles this red. Oh, that was not nice. And yeah, you could see that was not nice because he didn't get anywhere near the position on the collar. Like, he sort of did a Che Gauchon there. He nearly used too much of the front jaw for that red to stay out. But because of him doing that, he sort of played the shot in a way where he wasn't going to get, well, it's a bad shot on the safety as well. I'm pretty sure he's not going to be happy with this one because he has left the left-hand side to be available. So once again, a little bit of a, I understand doing that on the break, but maybe wants to take a little bit of a thing away, where he just takes a couple of extra seconds on those safety shots. Although still, listen, as I say, he's left him 3 reds to choose from, pretty much all in a straight line. So, it's going to be always the risk of trying to hit the first one too thin. He's looking at potential plants that he's clearly worried about not giving away. Because, if he takes the plant like that, they can't defend it. Like, Ronnie O'Sullivan at that stage may as well just say, well, I've played, decent safety shots in this frame, and I've still been exposed to pretty much all the safety shots that I've played because, he's just so brilliant with his safety game, with his long shots, I should say. He needs to have contact with the yellow, and he's not going to get it there, Che Gauchon. So it's going to be a mid-range shot there, but I still would say there's going to be a label of very difficult on it because of where you want that cue ball to be placed. Do you have what it takes to try and take this red into the corner? The answer is yes. Where's the position on the pink? It's going to be around there, It's very close. Ronnie's about to have a look, and clearly, well, not happy with it. It's the first thing that I say. Yep, not going to be good enough. That's a problem. 2 reds taken, no points scored, unfortunately, apart from them, of course. So 33 points behind, and still having to do exactly the same thing as he has done with the green, and leaving that cue ball to be onto the black ball cushion, onto the ball cushion, I should say. But yeah, the problem is, the red that he's put onto the safe position. As much as Shea probably would like to keep that one there, because Sullivan is the one that will need those reds in their entirety. So yeah, it just seems like he's a little bit of, acclimatization to the Crucible. Once again, Shea's not too much in a hurry of taking that cross double, which is the only safety that I can see. So let's see what's going to be for him. Ronnie's ready to go before the shot has been taken. And, there's a cross double, which will be close to the pocket. He will be close to the pocket. Wow, has he managed to get away with that one? Oh, it's going to be really close. He's put 2 reds over the corner, but because of how close the cue ball is towards the right side cushion, he may have actually blocked off one of them, and the most important red. So it does feel like this frame is just starting to, well, it's not starting. It's been fading away from Ronnie constantly. And, it's a really misjudged shot there in terms of the power. Let's see how far he's going to be able to take that cue ball towards the lower end of the table. Yeah, that seems like the shot which potentially could lose you the frame because of your opponent being ahead by 33 points. So yeah, looking at the red at the right corner, it seems like it's not even the best option that he has because of a bad safety there played by Ronnie. So just needs to try and carefully take this shred away. He nearly missed it, but where is the cue ball heading? Surely he would have had to take a little bit more care on that one. And he's about as close as he can be towards the ball cushion. So listen, it's one of them where you don't really want to be taking the brown because you've got a red waiting for you waiting for your opponents over the pocket. But you can't roll up to the brown and expect it to be the frame-winning shot there. So you probably have to take the brown into the middle. Let's see if he's going to be able to make it. And it looks good. Wow, once again, front jaw was very close to him, but he's still managing to just about roll that brown in. And now he is going to be, well, 2 good shots there on the bounce. The first one wasn't as good because it compromised the second one. But at least he was able to recover. And this is where we get to the end game point for Che Gauchon, because right now he's still looking to, try and find himself. Looking for an intermission of 2 frames each out there, still being available. Despite you feel like the match has only just got started. The raid that he's about to play, we'll see that cue ball to be drifting all the way to the top. At least that's the plan. And the plan is going to be very far away from the reality. Yeah, he's got himself onto the left-hand side as well. So he wants to be doing something with the green here. Probably putting that one onto the side cushion. But yeah, would be really disappointed from both of the players' point of view, realistically, because it's mad that Ronnie still finds himself nowhere near in this frame, despite so many mistakes from his opponent. But at the same time, just seems like, you know, something that Cher's actually managed to do. He's getting himself through to the colours. Ronnie doesn't seem like he's been able to do that so far. And yeah, as I say, it's just a matter of time until he goes for everything in this frame. And yeah, wouldn't want to leave it too late. Well, is he going to be now? Is he going to try and cue this red into the corner? It's going to be difficult, but that's a brilliant shot there. He's trying to drop the cue before the black. Oh, this is going to be close. I mean, Ronnie knows that. If he takes this black in and he makes this frame, I mean, there's going to be a huge pressure on this black. It seems to be nice. It seems to be nice. Just about drops the black in. Once again, around allowing the referee to go first. That was a brilliant sequence of 2 shots there. But he needs plenty more of those to try and challenge for the 3rd frame win. Just trying to carefully take this red away. Make sure he doesn't get too carried away. Although, you know, the last person that needs coaching on that is going to be probably Mark Williams. But Ronnie's going to be in the top 3. So once again, he's got 2 more easy reds after he takes 3 fantastic reds away with the black. Sorry, 2 out there. About to take the 3rd one and make himself just 22 points behind. So a little bit of a, you know, topspin positioning there on the black. So just trying to find himself lined up for the side cushion of a shot. It doesn't seem like he's struggling for form, but still, he needs to be taking those very seriously there. He's got the green to be in a bad position. He needs to make sure he doesn't touch that one with the waistcoat as well. And trying to play it with backspin. He doesn't want to put the green towards the side cushion though. And that's exactly what he's done. So it was always going to be a problem, to be fair. So I wouldn't say that it's the end of the world. But he sort of fixed one issue. He's not going to be perfectly lined up for the blue. And yeah, it just seems like there was a little bit of frustration there from Ronnie. I don't really understand what he was trying to do. Maybe make contact with the pink and the red. In the end, he'll find himself, once again, a blistering break, you know, and all of a sudden, it's everyone that needs the green, and it's a bad shot on the safety, though. I'm pretty sure he's left this red available from the right side, which is the one that you need to try and cut this one in, but yeah, as I say, very important for Ronnie to make sure he's not going to be alone in his boat, and Watchalong needs the green to be taken as well, because now he's got 9 points of a lead. Whatever, well, I would say whatever he does. Yeah, whatever he does with the reds, the next colour and the yellow, he's not going to be able to get away without needing the green. But as I say, O'Sullivan played a bad shot in relation to leaving the red away, and that red is now being taken. So for now, the long shot game seems to be won by Watchalong there. And let's see, as I say, that green can be taken as a double, and he won't need the pink here, which is a good thing for the player from China. But which colour do you take on right now? Do you take the brown and sort of commit it to try and do a Ding Wei or, you know, or Jot Trump? Or do you try and go for the yellow? The shot for the yellow is going to be extra difficult because you still need to be positioning perfectly for the yellow at the second time there. Always trying to take the yellow away. And, of course, that yellow has to count as a colour after the red, which doesn't really make a difference. You know, it still gives him 2 more shots, which probably could win him the frame. Green ball frame. He feel like he's got a massive advantage to try and make contact with the green, because if he cuts the yellow in, surely he's going to be making the contact. Even I can see that. He doesn't even have to do anything with the cue ball to me. The line can see it. So what's he going to be now? He needs to get this yellow, and he needs to be on the green as well. Well, I mean, that's a passive shot, that is. Is he taking a double? He refused to try and make contact with the green, which I'm not necessarily going to tell you an opinion about. We'll have to wait and see on 2 more shots. 14 points is the advantage. What's he going to be on this green? And, well, he's played safe. So let's see where the cue ball's going to finish. If he finishes in behind the black, it's certainly going to be worth it. And it's not too far, you know. And it's a really nice shot there, you know. It's a really nice shot from Watchalong. In the end point, when you refuse a double or a chance to try and make contact with the green, you have to make sure you play a shot like that. And now Ronnie is the one that needs to respond. The line seems to be really good Well, is he going to be a little bit too good out there in terms of the pace? He seems to be fine there in relation to he got the contact on the green. He hasn't left that one away. So we'll have to wait and see on what's going to happen. Once again, 25 points advantage. 14 is the difference. So what do we have here? So 14 points plus 3, 17. So yeah, Shegoshan needs the green and the brown. Of course, the problem for Ronnie is that he's going to have to need the pink as well, which is not even going to be the frame ball. You assume that Ronnie needs a total clearance at this stage because of the value of the black. So let's see what's it going to be now on the green. Ooh, that's going to be a little bit too close to the corner. That's going to be way too close to the corner. And has he fluked the snooker? I'll tell you what, it's going to be close. But it's going to be close on the wrong side there for Shegoshan, because if he's left his green, he can potentially... Oh, is that a foul? That's a foul there, classified. So if that's a free ball, wow, that's going to be a very interesting situation. So 10 points. I'm pretty sure the referee there just asking, well, this is going to be very interesting to see. A free ball has been called. And yeah, the brown is taken. So does this change anything? I'm not sure. Because now it's 7 points. Yeah, it does change something, because at this stage, it's only the pink there that Ronnie will need. Yes, he's still underplayed for this green to be taken into the corner, but wow, this is going to be a potential, very, very bad moment there for Shegoshan. But of course, Ronnie is still 4 shots away at least. The green is in. The contact with the pink is inevitable, and that's going to compromise him on the brown. The applause from the crowd are there, but this is a nasty brown for you to be lined up with. Ooh, once again, no time taken. Ronnie feels like he can fancy this one. It's a difficult brown to be taken, and it's in. But once again, just 1 shot too many for Ronnie to play, and he's not nicely on the blue. He's nicely on the blue to the green pocket, but this shot is never nice for you to play. So now just having a look at what's the situation with the pink. So it's now nerve-wracking frame this is. I don't know why I'm so nervous. This is the first round, but still you feel like, the way that Ronnie sometimes can just allow these things to get to him. He needs his blue, and wow, I never even finished the sentence, but he's absolutely hammered the blue home into the green pocket. And now, that pink is going to be associated with really bad memories at the Crucible for me. Make sure you don't do anything. Just try and roll this one in carefully. And that's what he's done. Thank you. He should have done that in the final against Selby, but thank you for that. And it's still a fantastic break of 21 points there from Ronnie O'Sullivan. And in the end, it is going to be Ronnie O'Sullivan 3, Shegoshan 0. Wow, that was exciting. That's first round. If you're going to have 17 days of that, you may as well call the ambulance now. But yeah, fantastic entertainment there from Ronnie O'Sullivan. And the fact that the table number 2 has gone dark means it is going to be Wuyiza that has potentially delivered the biggest upset of the championship so far. Last time I checked, it was 8-2, and he was on the run. And yes, he has finished 10 frames to 2. So Wuyiza absolutely destroys Li Beifan. Well, I tell you what, Mark Selby against Jack Jones, and it's never been more interesting of a clash, because if Wuyiza is up against Mark Selby, worth of 3 sessions, I'm not sure I would do all of them. Because, as I say, I can't miss Yao against Ding Jiwei. I simply can't, for the generation of me watching Dings for so many years. But also, Ronnie's right now is 30% in the second round win as well. And that would be John Higgins against Ronnie O'Sullivan. Is something that it should be illegal in the world of snooker for you to miss, because you should get a fine for it if you miss it, unless you can't physically make it, of course, which is going to be a very serious issue. But anyway, on the positivity side, it is Ronnie O'Sullivan that wins the 3rd frame, and he's now getting himself through to a potential, not going to say anything more, but a potential cruise towards the finish line of the first session. Because already, I wouldn't say I'd be mad with the scoreline, because 7-2 is the scoreline I'd be mad with if Ronnie was losing, but it's impossible now, which is good news. Right now, the good news is going to be also the factor of him trying to take this as a real quest, because I said he loves the challenge. Everything in that 3rd frame was up against him, and he still managed to prevail victorious. It's down to frame number 4. Shegoshan had 3 incredible long reds, and he's still finding himself with a gap of 3 frames to 0. Great income, thank you. Yeah, I mean, like, listen, it's Ding Zhuyi against Zhao is something that you can't miss. It's a battle of generations. Lionel Messi against Lamine Yamal. On a different level, true, not the best analogy, but still. It's very much one generation of a country that has been brought into snooker by that particular player to another one that has managed to become the world champion. So, listen, as I say, if Ding wins that match, who says that he can't be the world champion this season? I say he can, but I say he can't win, unfortunately, if it was that easy. But yeah, it's going to be really interesting because it's going to be 3 sessions, which means first to 13, which means great action, great drama. And once again, same thing as about this match, is that it's never going to be boring and it's never going to be slow play. If you know anything about Zhao and Ding Zhuyi, you combine them. This is one of those things where, you know, plus and plus is certainly going to be a triple plus for you. And once again, on the safety game on this particular frame, you know, a break-off shot probably killed the opening ceremony of it, because now the reds are going to be all over the table at the lower end of it in a really bad manner as well, because you've got Ronnie and Cher trying to, you know, find an easier way for them to try and play a safety. It's a really interesting way there of hitting that safety shot. Clearly was intentional to try and develop the black into the open play and sort of make sure you save it from the captivity of all of these reds, which he has worked out. I mean, he's been brought towards the right middle, and as you can see, I really love this angle though. Honestly, it just brings memories from the childhood when you've got one of those tables with no lighting. I always thought it was just for demonstration. I never realized that the previous match was actually finished, but it's such a nice, you know, little thing for you to be seeing a table where it's got nothing on. I don't know why, maybe it's just me, but you know, always just brings a really positive memories of 2015 and 2016 of World Snooker seasons. Dominated by Bingham, dominated by Selby, and by players like, you know, that you wouldn't even hear of these days. Martin Gould playing really well at that point. You know, some of the Sean Murphy as well, decent performance for him. And, you know, Robertson, Trump, Selby, all the guys that, you know, certainly haven't been as free-flowing in the worlds as we have seen them before in the previous decade, I would say. But at least the likes of Sean and Judd and Robertson, to be fair, have all managed to win their respective world championships, as the likes of Matthew Stevens and John Higgins will tell you. Fantastic shot there. No, not fantastic, sorry, I should get that one thing out of my head there. It's a decent shot there by Shegoshan, but simply because of how many reds he had in the way of the cue ball, he certainly managed to get that white towards the top end side of it. And now Ronnie's just looking to try and make contact with those reds in a way that he'll try and initiate that plant towards the left corner. And it's some really nice camera work, to be fair, because as soon as Ronnie had a look towards it, the camera never switched from that plant, so just clearly showing the people what he's going to be looking for. And yeah, unfortunately it hasn't worked out. He got nowhere near it. And it's now Shegoshan that will try and test out his long shot, which, I mean, it's usually, from what we've seen in the first 3 frames, the easiest ones are the missed, and then the most ridiculous ones are the ones that he makes absolutely superbly well. I mean, I was joking about it, but how on earth do you miss a red like that? Wow. I mean, I genuinely say he's in the wrong mindset or something, but he's been making such brilliant long shot. Long pot success 50%. He's gone for 2 outrageous long reds. Like, when I say outrageous, I've never seen anything like it in this season, in this tournament. Honestly. Well, maybe that screw in the 12th frame of Liam Highfield against Zhao. Yes, that one's special. But, I mean, he's going to be up there. And now he's missed 2 absolute sitters by the right corner. I mean, that's not good enough. I'm sorry, but you need to improve on that. And Ronnie, of course, is going to be there to take that red over the corner pocket. He's overplayed for the blue here. It may be pressure, maybe just down to, you know, I've played those fantastic 2 long reds and now I'm still 3-0 behind. It can be demoralising, but one thing you have to say is that you are up against the greatest player of all time, unless you are Stephen Hendry. In that case, may have to just make a debate out of it. Yeah, bad shot there from Ronnie again, overplayed for the reds that he was playing for, so still he's going to be forced to try and take a wider line. And once again, one good thing there, I will say, Ronnie, when he finds himself in a difficult position so far, something that I've rarely seen this season, He seems to get himself out of that. That blue, by the way, for that frame-winning shot on the ping was absolutely extraordinary. You have no idea how difficult it is for you to hammer something, anything, if it's going to be over the pocket or something, and use 100% of the power, 100% of the Q power you have, which O'Sullivan possesses plenty of, and still get the pot into the designated pocket and also be lined up perfectly on the ping. So that's certainly going to be a positive thing. The negative thing is that the ping that he was playing for into the left middle is about to be covered up by the red, which he's managed to sort of get away from the dangerous position there. Tough place, 3 down at Crucible. Yes, that is true. But ultimately, it is going to be down to probably the end of a break here. Ooh, I mean, as he tried to go for the black, I mean, the camera was still showing the replay, so I can't tell you. But it shouldn't be called a foul. So it is going to be. And the applause from the crowd certainly suggests that it was a brilliant black to be taken into the corner. And now, for the first time in 2.5 frames, we should see Ronnie finally getting through to his home, which is going to be around the black ball spot. And look at that. I mean, I'd love to see the average shot time in general, really. And ideally spread out when he's on a break and when he's not on one. All I want from the snooker world is to try and see this Ronnie to be playing for 5 matches. Please. Is that too much? Too little? All I want. And that's it. Honestly, if he wins the A title, I won't even ask for anything else, because that will be, the snooker world will be completed, especially as a Ronnie fan. But for now, it's certainly making you enjoy this game about as much as you can, carefully making his way around those reds. And look at that, he's got a selection of 2 of them, and he's about to play probably the easier one, to be fair. Yeah, the more difficult is the one that he's chosen, but the more difficult will leave him for the pink, which is just cannoned away from the play there, but he's still put a little bit of power behind that cue ball, so he's still going to be position 4 there. Black to be taken here into the left corner. Hey, something that we haven't seen here, I've just realised, is a century break. Fantastic break of 97 points, but I want more. I'm a one greedy person. And every century that he makes the Crucible is going to be absolutely spectacular. Average frame time, 14:57 in terms of minutes and seconds. And that, bearing in mind, with all the drama that we had in the 3rd frame, which for me alone was around 25 minutes time minimum. And usually those are the type of frames that last way over 40 minutes. Just ask Gary Wilson and Judd Trump. But of course, at that stage, Trump was looking for a snooker. Super impressive that he was able to find it. And still, that 6-goal clearance, by the way, I know I said Ronnie's one was brilliant, and he was, because of how well he's managed to start off that break. I mean, that break of 97 points. I mean, was that the frame that I'm talking about? Was that a different? No, that was a different one. Sorry, I was just about to say, because if he managed to get 97 points out of that position, you may as well just not turn up for the second session out there, because no, that was the one that he had the break of 72 points, I'm pretty sure. But still, equally as good for him. And he's now on 59. So if you are worried about this frame, don't be. He's only 3 shots away from making it very much the distance and the target for himself. Still on for a whitewash. I'm pretty sure Li Beifan managed to get his first frame in the 3rd encounter against Weezer. It's that he's gone for a bit of a drought ever since and lost the first session 8 frames to 1. Come on, Ronnie O'Sullivan. It could happen. Well, listen, if it can happen, I'll be there. For now, it's a penultimate shot for the frame. And then we can surely focus on the century break to be made. It's still not going to be easy. But Ronnie O'Sullivan doesn't do easy. He only does all the difficult things as well. As he's now around, about to try and go around the paint. Carefully place that cue ball to go 74 points ahead. 141 is the value that he can score here if he makes total clearance. By the way, I mean, look at that. 72, 75, 97. 4 frames that we've seen. That's the intermission for you. I mean, if you were tired of this, I don't know what you're doing there, because this is absolute brilliance from Ronnie O'Sullivan, and he still could get even better if he does make it the first ton of the afternoon for him. It's a bad shot there on the black, to be fair. Just as I speak about a century, yeah, he's going to have to try and take it with the black. He's refused to do that, which I'm not too sure why. He's just trying to do loads of side there of 2 cushions, which he's managed to do a decent job of, but he's still not quite close enough for that rate to be an easy one to be taken into the left corner. And look at that, brilliantly taken. I mean, he's cueing this one so well. You could see that in the first frame, but I was a little bit skeptical after the red that he missed into the middle. Look at that for a shot. Fantastic. Taking that red away from the black ball cushion into making a sitter. And then the shot for the black. It had to be the black. A shot for the century break. And as you can see on the scoreboard, can't even keep up with him. 98 points of a break. Could it be 105? Should it be 105? Of course it would be. And you can see the reaction of the crowd. There's not one member out there in the audience that wouldn't appreciate the greatness of this man. And is it going to be a total clearance here? Looking good for Ronnie Fan. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Enjoying life. Enjoying snooker. And enjoying that cue ball to slow down, please. A little bit tight that. To try and get past the blue especially. Get a little bit of kiss of the blue. Oh, come on, blue. You should have done better there. Ronnie has to blame the blue there. It's not quite a total clearance, but it's a break of 113 points. And you can see Ronnie himself didn't realise it was time for the intermission. But that certainly is the case, as Ronnie O'Sullivan leads Gauchon by 4 frames to 0. And what do you do in this situation, by the way? Because the second table is non-existent, because it's already done, because they only needed 3 frames. Now we're done with our 4. And what's it going to be? And how much has it taken us? An hour? Yeah, an hour and 8 minutes, which it feels like it was around 10 minutes or so. Fantastic performance from Ronnie. Well, you certainly can analyse this one. Let's start with the official numbers. Total points, as you can see, 382 versus 60. Ball spotted 103 versus 22. Pot success, 97%. And reverse for that for Gauchon, 79. A long pot success, 75%. I mean, that red taken in the third frame was absolutely extraordinary. How close it was to the side cushion and how good Ronnie's taking that one. 50% long pot success for Gauchon, 67% of a safety, never been the strongest aspect of Ronnie's game. 59 for Gauchon as well. And as you can see, highest break, 113 for Ronnie. But you do have to bring 97 and 72 into that as well. Thank you for covering coffee break. Yes, absolutely. Kevin can enjoy this one because he deserves it. Highest break of 25 points only there from Gauchon, despite being so close of winning that third frame. Let's have a look. So those 4 breaks, they add up to 39, 49, 55 points. Apart from those 4 breaks, which are not really going to be that impressive, of 6, 10, 14 and 25 points, he's only scored 5 more points in those 4 frames. Listen, to anyone, by the way, that was saying that that English Open meeting is going to be, a huge factor. You're clueless. Honestly, I know it's a strong language, but you are clueless because you didn't watch that match, did you? You didn't watch it. Ronnie wanted to get himself out of that match as soon as he walked himself onto the arena. He was 3-0 down. Then Cher started to make some really weird errors. And as long as, as soon as he got himself the first chance in that 6th frame, Ronnie just like, get me out of here. I don't want to be here. I don't want to play. I'm going to play left-handed. No, I'm going to play right-handed. No, I'm going to play with the wrong side of a cue. And yeah, it was just down to all those things as well. I'm from Vietnam, where snooker isn't very popular and can't watch the live stream. So I'm following the scores and listening to the commentary on YouTube instead. Good choice. And thank you. Appreciate that. This tournament will shake up the rankings list. Yeah, I mean, if you talk about rankings, a little bit premature, I would say now. But listen, we all know that Jack Jones and Karen Wilson are the 2 biggest names in terms of the rankings that have got so many ranking points to lose. You've got probably Stewart, I'm pretty sure, in the semis, which will have lost a mile away of those ranking points, and then David Gilbert as well, if that's correct for the semi-final lineup. Let's have a look, actually. If you bring the topic of ranking points, as I say, I mean, if you want to analyse the first 4 frames, then you certainly have to say that third frame has to take the absolute cookie with it, because that was brilliant. How many points was he down on? 35. Such a horrible position. Managed to have 2 long reds, didn't put any colour from them. Left the red away. Gauchon makes it. Then he takes a brown with it as well, which was extra difficult. In my seat, I remember, that's done. That's over. And then somehow Ronnie just makes Ronnie things, takes that incredible red along the side cushion on the left-hand side, position himself for the... By the way, that red, extraordinary work. How about he managed to get on the black, which was dead on the cushion, whilst having a red with around 10 centimeters away from it. He puts that cue ball perfectly through a gap of the red and the black, and that's where the damage was done. And this is where you realise Ronnie's got a chance. Yes, he didn't win the frame in a single visit. Nobody could do that. Prime Stephen Hendry couldn't win that frame in a single visit. You know, even with those conditions, no matter what the opposition is, he would not have been able to win that frame in a single visit to the table. So then, he takes some really good shots. Then he finishes up with the blue, a little bit frustrated there, but you can understand it. You know, trying to take that red away from the pink. That's where he's played the bad shot. He's left that red available. Then Watchalong takes it. You feel like, is he going to take the brown? And I did say at that point, I sort of recovered myself because he played a really good safety from it, but it was a little bit of a negative mentality at that stage because it was down to, listen, it's one of them where you feel like if he doesn't make it, that's when you criticise him for. But even if he doesn't make it, to be fair, at that stage, I remember very clearly, the pink was out of position and Ronnie didn't bring the pink into the open play until the green was spotted itself. So listen, it's one of them where you have to make a decision. He made his decision. He decided to try and do it in a safe fashion, which is understandable for you to be 2-0 down. But I feel like there is a certain stage to it where you just have to realise, if I don't play aggressive against Ronnie, I may as well not turn up. Because that's the way to beat him. He's tried to do that defensive way in the first and the second frame. That hasn't worked out. And every single time, you know, he sort of tried to play defensive. Ronnie was able to go for those long reds, pot them into the corner. And that's exactly what he's done with that fantastic 6-colour clearance as well. So that was very much brilliant. I hope Ronnie O'Sullivan win an 8th. Absolutely. Ronnie entering style again. Yes. I just hope he doesn't lose it by the 3rd round. Because so many of the first round matches, I remember 10-1, 10-2, something like that. I mean, in 2024, he was up against Jackson Page 10 frames to 1. Extraordinary work. Then he was up against Ryan Day, which in 2024, I'll tell you what, Ryan Day would have been a real contender, especially in the Crucible as well. But yeah, if you talk about ranking points, and let's talk about them, Stuart Bingham is already out of the qualifiers, and he's going to have 100,000 worth of ranking points to lose. So he's going to drop down the list badly. How badly is, I'm going to tell you. He's not going to be anywhere near top 20. And the answer is, well, he's still number 17, but I'm pretty sure that's wrong. Yeah, he's going to, well, 21. I mean, is that true? Is that correct? Or am I just sort of saying that 100,000? Yeah, I suppose it is correct. Okay, he's going to be the world number 21, which is not as bad as I thought. But I suppose I'm just thinking about Jack Jones, which is number 19 right now. But unless he makes it back, well, unless he makes it past the first round, which is going to be very difficult, he finds himself the world number 31 alongside David Gilbert as well, which is going to have 100,000 worth of ranking points to lose. Then we've got Steve Maguire, which I can't even remember if he was in qualifiers, to be honest with you. Oh, yeah, he was against Bingham. No, was he against Bingham? Who was he up against? Stevens? I can't remember. I was watching that match and I remember him being frustrated. I can't remember who he was playing up against though. Let's have a little look. In the qualifiers, it was down to... He wasn't in the Judgment Day, I remember that. And he doesn't show you anything past it, so that's a shame. But let's have a look if we'll see the qualification stage. There we go. So Stuart Bingham, yeah, that was against Matthew Stevens. Just going for the Scottish flag. Ross Muir, that's not it. Should be at the bottom of the page then. Yes, no, that's McGill. Yeah, there we go. Oh, Liam Highfield. Oh yeah, okay, I forgot about that. Liam Highfield, that has actually defeated Stephen Maguire by 10 frames to 5. Well, what happened to McGill, by the way? Yeah, he lost to Ali Carter 10 frames to 7 in the Judgment Day. I don't actually remember watching that match, which is weird. But anyway... Yeah, so he's going to be another name, which is out. Then Trump is hanging on, but he's got only 50,000 worth of ranking points to worry about. It doesn't really matter past the quarter-final stage because you've got Ronnie, you've got Higgins, you've got Trump, and then everyone else has gone into these the semis, and we already mentioned them. So Ronnie, Higgins, and Trump have got a little bit of ranking points to defend. But ultimately, I wouldn't say that neither one of them is going to be too frustrated about losing potentially 50,000 worth of them. If anything, that's extra motivation for you to try and improve on that particular standing. And yeah, so that's going to be down to it. And then, of course, you can always say with the draw, it does look like potentially right now it will be down to Ronnie O'Sullivan. And I also say potentially up against John Higgins in the second round, which is going to be a great draw. Then, as I say, Fang Jingyi against Sean Murphy. My first of the two underdogs that I said will defeat Murphy. It's going to be close. I always said it's going to be either decider or 10 frames to 8. But I would back Fang Jingyi to try and beat Murphy. It's never been associated as a player from the Crucible for me, Sean, because as much as they always see him play well, he never comes across to me as a person that you feel like, you know, he's going to be the one I'm afraid of, especially at the Crucible. He's been a really consistent player this season, but I was watching the interview with Hendry about it, and he sort of got me thinking as well. I mean, consistent is not really the word that you want to be using. It's the winner. And I'm a bit like, well, that's true. Because you don't really use that to Noel Robertson, because he's still made so many semis. You know, made the semis in the Champion of Champions, UK, in the German Masters and stuff, but you don't remember him for it, because the thing that you remember him for is winning the Saudi Masters and, making the final of the other tournaments as well. To be fair, Murphy has managed to win the British Open against Anthony McGill with a blind draw, which wasn't easy, beating Robertson on his way, I'm pretty sure, alongside Trump. But yeah, Murphy just feels like he's been the most consistent. He's got to, how many finals? 2 finals? German Masters where he lost to Trump. But I always say, if you're going to say this thing about Murphy, you may as well say the same thing about Trump. Because he made so many finals, you could lose count of them. One in the Champions of against Selby. Then one in the UK against Selby. In the Northern Ireland against Lisowski. In the Tour Championship against Zington. He lost all of them. The only final that he won was the one in German Masters as well. So that's going to be a bit of a different story for Judd as well. So I was just trying to think the top players of the season, and realistically, the likes of Wilson and the likes of Selby certainly have to be above Trump and Murphy incredibly, which is absolutely out of this world if you think about it. But then if you think about it a little bit more, then it actually is going to make sense, because you feel like, well, Wilson had a bad season. I feel like you agree with that, but he's won 2 tournaments. And he hasn't won, like, Riyadh Championship, which I feel like should be classified as an exhibition. He won the first tournament of the year, which is done in style, beating Zhao Xingtong in the semis, and then Ali Carter, the biggest headline, one of the biggest underdog stories of the season, for him to make it to the final, despite being the wild card, which, you know, could have not made it into the whole tournament. And then he won the Masters of the Triple Crown, where he defeated John Higgins in the final, and sort of like, he's gone under the radar until the end, because everyone was saying that Trump is going to be against Wilson in the final, and then Trump should batter him. But then at that stage, you had Wilson to absolutely batter everyone on his way. Yes, he had a couple of really tough matches against Robertson and Weezer. But I mean, the fact that he's not playing too well, and he wasn't until the final, and I feel like in the final against Higgins, it was a bit of a different story, because Higgins looked like he was out of steam again. He's made 3 finals, and he was out of steam in all 3 of them. Against Weezer in Nanjing, against the Masters, in the Masters against Karen Wilson. And then is Ronnie definitely facing John if he wins this round? Well, when you say definitely, I always feel like you should cover yourself up with, unless one of them withdraws, and Ronnie still has to win this match. So if Ronnie wins this match, and Higgins or Ronnie don't withdraw from the tournament, yes, they can't face anyone else, basically. There's not going to be a replacement now. It's way too late into the tournament. So if Ronnie and John are going to play someone, and Ronnie makes it past the first round, then it will be the class of 92 derby. And then the third member will be up against the finalist of 2014 of Barry Hawkins, that had a really good win against Matthew Stevens. You know, probably the only match so far which I managed to predict perfectly with a scoreline. And if you've done the social media brackets thing, I'm pretty sure you have. And I already should be out of that thing, because if I remember correctly, I have gone for Mark Allen to lose to Zhang Anda, and that didn't really work. So at the end point, I should be out. And if you're still in, well done. Honestly, because I'm not in it, I'm not even going to be jealous and saying that I hope you'll lose. But yeah, in terms of the draw, let's have a look how, let's have a look at the remaining matches of the first round. We've got 3 more of those. And then we talk about the pairings of the last 16, which are confirmed. Selby against Jack Jones. Interesting, but I feel like I have seen something really impressive of Jack Jones, but is he going to be against someone like Mark Selby? The bottom line for me is not really, because the reason why it was so good is that Jack Jones was playing against someone like Luca Broussel, which as much as sometimes he was playing quite well, he was very inconsistent, and that allowed Jack Jones to be taking more chances than Broussel, and at the end point, it was just not enough that we've seen from Broussel, and Jack Jones was able to take that with 5 centuries, which should certainly get a shout out, but at the end point, you feel like that was a little bit of a Jack Jones match to lose. Then Sejawi against Hossein Rafai, the match which, is going to feature my second wildcard for the whole tournament. Sejawi, for me, could easily make it past the second round. He plays well. Certainly the first round of Hossein, and then if he's going to be up against the, Trump or Wilson, they're going to be a little bit exhausted by their first match, I feel. And then, in my logic, he should breeze past Hossein quite easily. Let's see if that's going to be the case. And at the end, of course, the last of those matches, Neil Robertson against Pang Jung-soo, wasn't drawn until the last person to be drawn of the top seeded players, despite him being on the BBC radio doing the draw live and reacting to it. They certainly said that they had a interesting memory of the UK Championship before, where Robertson managed to lose a frame despite Pang Jung-soo needing 4 snookers, but of course still managed to win the whole match around. And now, as it's only 1 minute away from welcoming the players back to the arena, it's been 16 minutes actually, so they should make their way very shortly onto it. When does the session resume? I just managed to respond to that one, Michael, and it should be in a minute. Any minute now, because it's been 17 now minutes since the intermission has started. The fans are in the building. No one is going to be standing around waiting for it. So just all eyes are going to be on the walkout foreign players looking to try and return back to the main stage. Of course, the stage is going to be theirs. Weezer, yes, Lipe fan is already over. That match was over before the start of the second session, but ultimately it is now Weezer officially through to the second round, where he'll play either Jack Jones or Mark Selby. Selby's probably going to be one of the most underrated players for the championship. I know he hasn't played well so far in 2026, but still, he's going to be in there with a shout, because 2021, 2016, 2017, 2014, I feel like, if you were to make your pick for the World Championship before that season, he certainly wouldn't be Mark Selby in 2014. I feel like it wouldn't really be Selby in 2021. He was a little bit more like that in 16 and 17 because he was playing really well in those particular years. But, listen, he's always there to try and prove the haters wrong and put the doubters wrong as well. So let's see. I feel like he's got a chance, but if I was to narrow it down to one person, the head says Xington, the heart says Ronnie, so I'll go with the heart for now. Because I felt like it's a little bit boring to say Xington. I still can't believe that he's got 3.0 of the odds for him to win the whole thing. It's now finally 20 minutes in. We are going to be seeing the players to come back to the main table. Ronnie, of course, brings his cue in his case as well. Nice and stylish there. Hopefully his game is going to be just about as stylish as his cue and the cue case, because so far he's still looking very nicely for a very dominant first session win against Xie Guoxiang. Frame 5, and it is going to be Ronnie O'Sullivan to break off, and hopefully won't be leaving a chance away to Xie Guoxiang here. And now he's about to have that cue ball to be running around the table like crazy. And look at that for a shot. If he slows down behind the green, which he hasn't, so don't look at that for a shot. And it's a decent shot there. Match time 56 minutes. That's 4 sessions to be done. Sometimes you can win a match when you win 4 frames like that. And that, of course, would have been 56 minutes only. And that's a horrible shot there from Xie. He needs to try and avoid leaving out easy chances for O'Sullivan. Something that he certainly hasn't managed to realise for his first performance in the opening 4 frames. He's left a very easy red away. Unforced errors 3 from Ronnie, which is not good. 8 from Watchalong in 4 and a bit frames, which is incredible when you think about it. Unforced errors of 8. I'm not sure I've seen 8 unforced errors so far in any one of the matches in sort of 10-15 frames. The fact that we've seen 8 errors in the 4.5 frames, it probably tells you things. But once again, that was a nice shot there, because you could hear and you could see how nicely he cued that one for the pink, because he was missing on a similar shot like that in pretty much the 2nd frame of short, but he was getting the referee to try and, you know, sort of place and work out where the pink is going to go. And then he goes down in the shot after going back to his seat. He plays it, and then he just didn't get any purchase on it. It didn't sound good, and he didn't feel good. And, well, I say he didn't feel good. He didn't look good. I don't know how he felt, but he must not have felt good if Ronnie missed that red by so much of a margin. Yeah, he's got a bit of a quest here again, which you're always going to get when you've got 15 reds ahead of yourself with such a tiny margin between them. And it's a nice shot that he's played, making sure the pink is now going to be available in 3 of the 4 main pockets, just the right corner of the table, where you can't pot this one in, and unfortunately can't quite get through to his 2nd home of the black spot, but he should be able to try and score some good points with the pink until he's going to be looking to try and get through for those reds to be taken into the left middle. So now it's going to be 14 points as the advantage, and just looking to try and play one more red. Should have an easy transition on towards the blue, and then just try and carefully take the blue away into the left middle. Make sure you are going to have a chance to try and play the cue ball around the table, and very much do that on the best possible fashion for you. So once again, just carefully taking that red away into the left middle. Now making sure he's going to be the one looking to try and get that cue ball towards the black ball spot, although you'll have to clear up a couple of those reds first, especially from the left-hand side. But he's looking at that pink, the camera's looking at the pink. I mean, he seems to find himself in a position where he doesn't want to be involved with the pink too much. He wants to try and get on the black as soon as possible, which should be fine here if he just stuns the cue ball to be in a position of that red, which is exactly what he's done. But I do wonder, is he going to try and play like that for the remainder of the break? And there's your answer. Fantastic little nudge from the cue ball onto the reds, and make sure that's going to free up the block nicely, because, you know, he's just managed to take 2 reds away, because the one that he's about to take, he's going to be potted into the corner, so that's not going to be disturbing the black. The one thing I would say, though, he needs to make sure he probably plays for the pink for one last time, because, I mean, he could try and hold the cue ball for the black, but he just makes it a little bit awkward anyway, so you may as well just try and take it with the pink, because if you take the red away, I feel like you can't really get through to the cue ball perfectly well. So what you need to do is slow the cue ball down and make sure he doesn't run away too far away from the black. So yeah, he wasn't even playing for the pink, he was playing for the blue after all that. So 29 points as the advantage now for Ronnie. So he's just about to take the blue away into the right middle, make sure he's got that run available to him, and can easily get in behind of one of those reds to be taken into the left middle, because as much as I say, he's managed to sort out all the colours pretty quickly with the pink and the black now being available. And the fact that of the reds being so bunched up together, it's very difficult for you to try and do something about it quickly, because you just have to try and take it one by one. And you can see 5 really good reds there, all compromised by one another into the left and right hand side of the table. This is exactly why the shot time is going to be going through the roof there for the standard of Ronnie. So just looking to make sure he's not going to be, you know, giving anything away, not making any silly mistakes. But as I said, he was always going to have that one more easy solution of playing behind the red to be taken into the left middle. And this time around, he's managed to get slightly sort of not quite straight on that one. So as long as he plays that red with power, he should be lined up on the black nicely. Just doesn't want to be straight on it. And he's not, which is nice. So he's going for a backspin shot, which is a little bit surprising. So clearly managed to find something which I haven't seen. Oh, I mean, that was a delicate shot there that he had to play a little bit more power with. And you can see there he's having second thoughts where he can see that red. But the end stage, well, listen, that was not nice. That was not nice because, as I say, I was surprised that he was trying to dig into the cue ball on the shot from the black because I didn't think that red was potable. You can see that it is, and it probably was the right red for you to play for, but you just got, way too far away from that red, and of course, for now, it is going to be 180 points without reply. The worst news for now is that it's not going to be a century break. The good news for Ronnie, though, is that it is going to be a mistake without consequences there, it would seem, because the red that he's missed and the other red that he's pushed away from the main bunch are all going to be covered up. One, because it's not, it's not close enough to the pocket. It's very much down to the center of the table. And, well, the same red that Watchalong has played there, he didn't want to catch the brown. It didn't really matter in relation to the position of the red. But it seems like Ronnie's not really going to be trying to focus his attention too much on that particular red. And doesn't seem like he's going to mind too badly to try and play a couple of safeties here, which is good. As I say, he's not going to be in a century pursuit because he can't make one. And also he has to be very aware of the factor of, if he leaves a decent long shot away, it could always be down to a chance for Watchalong, as we've seen beforehand, where he tends to miss the easy ones and takes to make all the difficult ones as well. He's got one next to the left corner, which is similar to the one that Ronnie's taken in that third frame. But this one is going to be closer to the pocket and slightly easier, but still easily missable. A bit of a delay on nicely cued. Really nice shot there from Watchalong, and he manages to be lined up perfectly for the black. So, once again, not for the first time in the match, there's a potential chance for Sher to try and punish Ronnie for his, unfortunately, constant mistakes. Not in every single frame, but certainly have been at least 3, including this one. One in the first frame, one in frame number 2, and one in frame number 5 as well. Ronnie O'Sullivan look up for it today. Yes, he certainly does, which is a good thing. I just feel like he needs to try and get himself into a little bit more of a concentrate, slightly more, in relation to, it's down to 2 factors for me. You should have played that shot from the black onto the red better, and also when he realized he didn't play that one as well as he wanted to, he should have taken a little bit of a step backwards and make sure he does give it, mentally the preparation to sort of realize, well, you know what, it's a difficult shot, I better not miss it, because it still blows the frame door wide open. And that's exactly what happened. Apart from that red on the left side and the brown, which I'm not sure he's going to need at this stage to try and win the frame, which should still be looking very nicely there for Sher to try and take this one away from Ronnie. Interesting pronunciation of Watchalong. Yeah, listen, it's one of those things where I had to do the research on. Don't think about that I just came up with it from nothing, but apparently that's what it's supposed to sound like. And I know that on TNT it doesn't get used like that, but you go into the what's it called, the audio thing of the Chinese language, you type it in English, it's supposed to give you what it should sound in China, but, listen, I'm no Chinese person myself, so I just have to go with what the computer tells me. But he's doing pretty well, certainly doing pretty well to try and get this blue for the highest break of the match for himself, of 30 points, which is going to be some sort of an achievement. So try and get the red to be taken now, once again into the corner. He should be playing for the blue right now, because I feel like he's not going to be able to try and make his way around the black through the left side only. So it's exactly what he's done, just carefully trying to play for the blue. A little bit too much, but shouldn't be critical because of how much distance there is going to be from the blue towards those reds. Of course, the last thing that you want to do when you're going to be low on confidence is trying to use that black ball cushion for no reason, because you could easily see the blue to bounce into the pocket, but the cue ball is going to be all over the place. Just as I say that, it's exactly what he's done. I mean, I said that 5 seconds ago. Why on earth did you need to use the black ball cushion? I mean, that's beyond me. What has he done there? I mean, he didn't have to do anything. There was not enough angle on the cue ball, which he would have forced him to try and go on the black ball cushion. I mean, that is so weird. He's still going to go for this red, but he creates a problem out of nowhere for himself. And he doesn't really have the 20 years of experience to try and get himself out of that issue. I mean, it's great that he's taking that red in, but he's not on the black. And this is the thing, this is what I'm saying. Like, one of those issues is always going to be down to get into another issue on the second shot. And until you're going to be able to get yourself out of it, all of a sudden, you find yourself with no more shots to try and clear up that red on the left side cushion. So you just create yourself a problem out of nowhere. And you don't need to be doing that when you find yourself 4-0 down. But listen, it's one of them where he's still going to be able to probably pot the black, although the red was easier than the black. And the fact that he's going to be so close and yet with so much angle doesn't really help his case. Seen plenty of front jaws from this angle. And that was close, but not close enough. So, as you play this one well enough, no, not to me. The crowd, they're applauding, but I'm pretty sure it's going to be the end of a break. That's exactly what's gone wrong with him for the entire match. That miss by Ronnie was bad, but it wasn't as bad as this. At least he had a difficult position to try and make his way through. But this has been shambles of a performance so far. 44 points of a break where you should have easily taken down to 60. Left yourself with the chance to try and clear up that red from the left side. Not thinking, yeah, listen, it's just weird for me. Is he going to try and swerve around the red? Once again, why are you doing that? Why are you doing that right now? I mean, he's missed. I mean, that is genuinely, I genuinely can't understand what he's doing there. The reason why I'm saying why is he doing it, he's got a red literally to be positioned on the left side cushion. The red that he's taken right now is the penultimate of the two that he has. Surely you need the perfect positional sense on those two reds. I mean, Ronnie has gone for this red and he's taken that one superbly well. As long as he doesn't catch the red, which he has, he's still on the black. But I mean, that thinking for me is just beyond belief. And unfortunately, that's all with the negative pronouns. Ronnie takes a really good black as well. I mean, the thing is, if Ronnie takes it, I can't say anything because I know he can do it. And he's also got a 4 frame of a deficit. But that's not really Crucible standard to me. Because he needs to realise where you are and what you're up against. And he hasn't learned that in 4 frames that he's lost. And watch Ronnie, by the way, need one chance. 100% to me, he'll be able to make the most out of it. Maybe he'll get a little bit unfortunate, but look at that way. Look at the way with how much distance there was in between the red and the cue ball. And he manages to be just about topside on the blue. I will say I'm a little bit surprised that he hasn't tried to cannon this one away. But he clearly puts 2 and 2 together and realises that, well, you know what? If I miss this red, there's still going to be a point where it could go wrong for my opponent because he needs the brown. Oh, he has missed it. I didn't really think that was the case. But as I say, he misses it, and now it's going to be the brown, which Chegoshan still needs to deal with. So, Ronnie is, as I say, he can do whatever he wants for now, for the next 2 frames. Although, he wouldn't really want to repeat the match against Chipchaya in the first of 10, where he was 4-0 up and then still lost that match 10 frames to 7. Anyway, it's going to be the end of a break of 14 points, and he will be down to Chegoshan to try and make something happen here. But, as I say, he needs the brown. And straight away, he got himself with a little bit of work to do here after being straight on the blue, which, you can't really do anything with it. You just have to try and make it as straight of a yellow as you can. And there is going to be a distance, and we'll see. When is the second session? The guy is simply intimidated by O'Sullivan. I wouldn't be surprised if that's the case, but surely that was the point of the second frames. Right now, you've gone past beyond that point where you just need to realise, well, listen, I know it's a dream come true, but I need to make it not a nightmare. Is he going to be straight on the green? He can't afford to be straight on the green. I feel like he just about has got enough of the angle. I'm not sure if that's going to be enough to try and get in behind the brown, but it's going to be interesting to see because the brown is basically the shot where the frame is going to be won or lost. Well, he's got a bit of the angle there, so just see the execution here. Try to get that green in, and as long as he's not going to be too close to the brown, which he is, I mean, that's fine in relation to there is going to be a way out of this situation, but it's not quite as straightforward had the cue ball been a little bit further down because this brown is missable because of how close the cue ball is, but also he needs to use the ball cushion to get on the blue. Ronnie will be intimidated by Higgins if he wins. Not really, if you look at the way that they've played at the golf in Ireland. I know it's different different universe, but still. I don't really know if there was any point where Ronnie was intimidated by Higgins. Certainly not what I've seen. It's a good Brown. How's the control on the cue ball? Wow, that's really good, that is. Even though he's on the wrong side of a blue, that is really good there from Watchalong. And that is finally something that you should be seeing, at least in half of those frames there, to try and challenge Ronnie O'Sullivan. He still needs the pink after it, but he gave himself a chance. And it's about as close as he has been to winning those frames, because he's actually got himself back at the table and trying to compete here. So the blue, he's still going to have to try and go really... Wow, that, I mean, just as you compliment the guy, he misses the blue. Where's the blue going to finish now is the question. Oh, that's not going to be nice to it. So it's going to be a still real test for Ronnie to try and win this one now in relation to... It's going to be a little bit too close to the straight line, but you can't be missing a blue like that. I mean, you could say what you want about the position on the pink. You can't be missing a blue like that. Because you know, if you miss the blue, you're always likely to give it away. That's exactly what happens. And Ronnie right now, I'm pretty sure he only needs the pink. He doesn't even need the black, which makes it even worse. So 2 points ahead. You'll be 8 points with the pink with only 7 points at the table. Just doing a little bit of a brush of the cloth. Whatever you do, make sure you just don't care. Well, to be fair, is that really going to matter? Back end jaw, front jaw. Make sure you get the pink in. That's about as much as it matters. Ronnie O'Sullivan, ladies and gentlemen, 5-0 up against Watchalong. To all the people, by the way, that said that he's going to struggle because he's lost to him 4-2 in the English Open, I mean, I do love to hear what was on your mind. Nothing to do with the competition, nothing to do with the Crucible, nothing to do with the competitive match, and nothing to do with Ronnie O'Sullivan in 2026 either. Who's winning? Watchalong is winning 11 frames to nil in the first attempt. But seriously, it is going to be 5 frames to nil advantage to Ronnie O'Sullivan, and he's going to be halfway from the second round match with John Higgins. 1-4. No, he won't be 1-4. He will be 5-0. Higgins and O'Sullivan respect each other, don't fear by... Yeah, exactly. Why should greatness be afraid of greatness? Greatness and game should recognize game. That's all it is. And they certainly do have plenty of games of their own. Right now, the only thing that I'm interested in is, are we genuinely going to see Ronnie to lose any one of those frames? Because they're still doing odds for it, which I feel like you may as well not bother. Because right now, it is 5-0 of a gap in favour of Ronnie O'Sullivan. You've got 4 more frames, and I wouldn't be surprised if all 4 of them... Well, I would be surprised, but at the same time, I would have seen a bigger shock today already if I see that Ronnie managed to beat Watchalong by sort of 9 frames to nil. For now, he's still going to be very much the favourite to try and win the... What's it called? The 6th frame, but he will be down to... very much trying to be the one that sets up the pace of the frame very early, because even though he's managed to win every single one of those frames, he's had a couple of them where he won, you know, on the last black or the pink. Sorry, on the last pink twice there. So he just needs to make sure he gets himself into a comfortable rhythm. And what if he goes to 9-0? Then you have to come back for the second session whilst it being 9-0. It's not the fan of it, to be honest with you, but you can't really suggest any alternatives to it either, because if you have to say that you can play 10 frames in one session, you know, same people are going to say, what if it's 9-1? Do we stay for one more? Then A2, and you're just going to do that to infinity. For now, Ronnie, once again, seems like he's about to sense blood. He's about to go for the red into the corner. Look at that for the cue ball, by the way. I mean, as long as he slows down, which he no, he won't. I mean, I was just about to say, the cue will manage to find a perfect route to escape from those reds, but at the end point, it will been too easy so far, yeah. Once again, that red to be left over the middle. You would expect Ronnie to do a little bit better, but still, you can see this reaction, like, I mean, really, honestly, are you serious there? Just having to try and probably nudge the brown out of the way, because I feel like he's not really going to be able to get in behind of it, because he's literally perfectly alongside the yellow and brown, and probably going to be, you know, about as close to touching ball on the yellow as he can. Should there be a rule, if you go sub 7 or 8-0, they call it? Nah. That's stupid, that is, to be fair, because what's the point? Just make it first to 8. You know, if you're 8-0 down, You have to come back. There is a chance. You can never say like, nah, come on, like what's next? If it's a race to 4, well, you lose the first frame and then it's going to be all down to it. Oh, thank you very much for the donation out there. Appreciate that. I can't really nick the nickname, but appreciate that. Appreciate the support massively. Thank you very much. And yeah, appreciate the super chat, as I say. But Ronnie O'Sullivan is still going to find himself in a position where he's going to play a safety now to try and get around the green. Make sure he's going to have a chance to be somewhat closer to the brown onto the right side cushion. And once again, I feel like the only dangerous thing about Cher Gauchon for now is going to be down to the factor of his long game actually being quite good. Apart from that, not really anything that I can say has certainly stood out to me. And the break of, sort of 44 points, it's not really something that can, feel like Ronnie O'Sullivan is going to be intimidated by that. And he's certainly not going to be intimidated by a safety shot like this. Although, I do wonder if there is going to be a way past all those reds by the right corner. The answer seems like it's going to be negative. And yeah, the position is not going to get any better either, because the brown and blue are very awkwardly positioned next to each other on the right side cushion, where you can't put, ooh, that was close to a fluke. In the end, that wasn't a fluke. And let's see how far the cue ball is going to go from the right side cushion, because it still could be a very cheap chance there for Cher Gauchon, but that's only going to be the case if you can get through to that red straight forward. That's not really the case, though. I mean, there is a plan that he can try and initiate from the black ball cushion out there, but I feel like it's going to be a bit of a different case scenario. Ronnie's desperate to try and get involved as well, just to see on what he's actually left for his opponent. It's going to be interesting, but because whatever you do, you need to make sure that red is in the pocket, no matter how you do it, whether it's going to be 100 mile an hour or a shot. And it does seem like he's preparing it. Yes, he's played that. And, well, the cue ball seems like he's got a little bit too much pace, so he's going to be perfectly alongside the green. It's not quite perfectly alongside the green, and there is a little bit of a distance to it as well. Has anyone lost first session 9-0 and won the second session 10-0? Robertson done that against Bingham. We've seen Jousington against John Higgins 8-0 in the Tour Championship. I'm pretty sure of this season that's the only things in the first to 10, because there haven't been too many matches of first to 10, which, majority of them you can easily remember the scoreline because there have been so little of them. But no, I wouldn't say so. And it's the green that makes it to the corner of the table. And once again, it is going to be a chance here for Cher Gauchon to try and go for a couple of reds here. He's got a variety of those, but ultimately it will come down to the point of, if you go for the red next to the black, you will be down to trying to get on the collar, because the pink is out of position. The blue and the brown, as I say, they're covered up about as awkwardly as you possibly can put them anywhere on the table, because it's a zone where you don't have reds. You don't bring the cue ball there on purpose, accidentally I should say. He's trying to get low on the cue ball, which means he's trying to play for the yellow, which is bizarre to me. I mean, that was stupid, really. I mean, what was he trying to do there? He's trying to cannon the cue ball into the black, sort of kissed it, and then because he played that shot with backspin, he sort of... Oh, sorry. There we go. I don't know why I was counting that for running. There we go. And yeah, so he sort of counted into the black. They're trying to play the cue ball into the color there. And doing that with backspin was always going to result in the cue ball getting away from the black. But surely you would have liked to be using topspin on that, because that puts you closer to the black when you have to play. And by the way, I mean, I don't understand the mindset. Why on earth would you put the green on the left side cushion? I mean, I honestly feel like you could write a book on those questionable decisions there so far made by Cher Gauchon. I'm not sure if going over the top there, but you've got the black, you've got the blue, you've got the brown, you've got the pink. All four of those colours covered up. So that's why you put the green onto the side cushion, because you've got 4 points of a lead. Yeah, that makes perfect sense. And Ronnie, with his first shot, by the way, tries to bring the black into the open play, despite him realising that he's going to put the cue ball slightly closer, because, he realises he doesn't want to be here all day. No, never in world come back like that. 8 frames to 2, I think. Not sure what you mean. Not sure what you mean. So you mean like there was never a whitewash? I'm pretty sure there would have been. Or you mean nobody came back from 8 frames to 2? That's fine, because it does make sense. And, well, Shegoshon is going to have a red available. Can he try and free up the pink as well? Or is he going to try and do it without colours? Well, he's going to have to try and do it without a red, because he didn't make that one in. And he would have been probably just about lined up for the black, but to be fair, would have been, doesn't mean that he has. And Ronnie should have the red by the right corner to be available. And then, of course, you know, this is why it was always going to be worth to try and bring the black into the open play. Because Cher nearly got the better of that generosity from Ronnie. But at the end, from 9-0 down to win. From 9-0 down, no win happened. Oh, 82, sorry, I meant 82, yeah. 82, yeah, cool, understand. Well, I don't understand that. What the hell was that from the miss on the black? That was very much Shegoshon style of a shot. I mean, that was about as close as you can put the black towards the corner. Yes, he played that with power, but that was really weird there from Ronnie. Top 16 players winning streak continues. Well, I wouldn't... Yeah, listen, you can never win matches in the first session. And that one was probably a little bit of a misfire there from Ronnie. It's a difficult shot that Shea's about to play as well. He's taken that one pretty well. And, yeah, of course, you can always try and, you know, sort of use that as a positive energy from your opponent making a mistake. Not sure how much of that positivity is actually going to be onto Shegoshon, but for now, it feels like he's going to have a little bit of a variety in relation to the reds. I'm not sure if he's going to have a, you know, the colour to be taken with this red as well. Average break so far, 36.6 by Ronnie, which is not bad, especially for how many mistakes there have been very early on the break. And 15.5 for Shegoshon, which is absolutely horrible, if you put it nicely. So, yeah, he's just trying to get low onto the cue ball here, which, yeah, he can't string two shots together, unfortunately. It's sad. It's honestly sad, because what I've seen in qualifiers is better than that, but that is not good enough, unfortunately. And it is going to be just 8 points to be scored, and red and the black, and then it is going to be down to Ronnie Watchalong to try and return. 8 frames to 1. Oh, listen, you can play guesswork, but I would say take every frame differently, but I haven't seen anything. I've seen 2 frames where he should have won. He didn't win them. So Ronnie should still be taking this one as a bit of a negative thing there, as he uses the entirety of the pocket to try and roll the red in. He could have easily been heading into this frame 3-2 up. And with the 2 chances that Cher already had, he could have easily been 3-all. So, you know, I don't want to be mean to him, and I don't want to ask too much, but it does remind me a little bit, only a little bit, of Ali Carter's match. Because he's playing better. You can see that he's playing better, but I don't like to see the easy mistake that he's making, because right now, just make sure you concentrate on this raid. Look at that, brilliantly struck. That was a lot more difficult than the black that he missed into the corner. But to be fair, I mean, it does seem like, yeah, I'm making it up really, because pot success 95%, 126 out of 132. Long pot success 4 out of 5. I mean, it doesn't tell you the whole story, but I can't believe he only had 6 misses in 5.5 frames, because it might actually force me to retract my statement and say, sorry, yeah, you are playing fantastically well, and I'm clearly just trying to pick up on the negative things, which I do apologise for. And he's about to be playing another red with the pink combination. Still no upsets. His black gloves, absolutely annoying. Yeah, but to be fair, I'm not really going to go with that, because I've played with my father, actually, and he's actually been a fan of it. I've asked it once, I never liked it, and I was just like, you do you, and I do me. But apparently, like, he was a lot better than me, whether he was down to the glove or not. But, you know, he was always using that one as well, so I'm not going to say it's annoying, but it is, you know, a little bit unexpected to see, because you don't feel like there's too many players that do that. There's Ronnie there, just looking to try and go for the best attacking shot for him. You know, thinking about a rest shot, then realising against it. And just trying to play for the black one more time. Make sure he's now got 13 points of the advantage. And yeah, for Shegoshon, it's going to be very difficult to try and make anything out of it. Which, I mean, Ronnie there somehow manages to get in between those 2 reds. And didn't really hit the one that he was intending to. And yeah, he's still going to go for this raid. I feel like he needs to try and reach over quite a bit of margin. So let's see if he's going to be able to get this one in. Oh, that one, it hit a little bit too much of the front jaw. Let's see if he's managed to cover up that red. Because once again, it is down to probably just a little bit of a weakness of him trying to finish this one as soon as he can. And in the end, it doesn't seem like he's getting too close to it. So Watchalong is now going to have another chance as he finds himself 20 points behind. So let's see how many points he's going to be able to score in this visit. Still seeing, oh, that's... I mean, I don't want to act surprised because that's what we've seen for 5.5 frames. But if you can't get on the black, anywhere near the black after the red is in the pocket, I mean, was over the pocket when Ronnie missed it, then you do have a little bit of it. It may be down to, listen, it's maybe down to one of the technical things, but it doesn't really make sense for me. One of the technical things where you've got, you know, the 2 best shots of the tournament, you could argue, with a long red to be taken, and he's still about to be taken. Another great ping there into the left middle. But of course, with him playing that cue ball away from the pink and away from the reds, he doesn't seem like he's going to have anything easy out there. So let's see if he's going to try and cue this one nicely, because these are the type of shots that so far it hasn't really been missing. So maybe it's just down to one particular aspect of his game. So he played that one really well, and all of a sudden, 2 great shots, and he's back in business, it would seem. About to take the black into the left corner, but the problem is, even though he's only 12 points behind, 59 points that are available, you know, they're really spread out across the table there for you, so it will be difficult for you to try and make the most out of them. But for now, just take the black in, take it as one shot at a time. Try to take that with full topspin there, which, I mean, it's not too bad. This red is still playable. He's got a little bit of distance in between the cue ball and that red, which actually makes the angle a little bit more generous to him. But the red is not on the cushion, which makes it difficult. So let's see what he's going to try and do here. And that's, ooh, I mean, surprised that dropped in, especially with the power that he's played there. But he has dropped in, despite him catching the front jaw. And can he try and find himself ahead for another frame there? So looking to see what's going to be the case here in relation to Ronnie O'Sullivan. And he's trying to get in behind of that red. His positional play hasn't been at a great standard so far, but that shot was actually really nice for him. And if you take a look at those reds one by one, all of a sudden, I mean, he probably will he need the reds? Will he need the green, which is currently on the side cushion? I mean, not if he plays those 3 reds with great colours. He won't certainly do that. He's slightly on the wrong side of a ping here, though. So 4 points of a lead, 43 at the table. The blue, the brown, and the green are in a horrible state. So he should be down to just trying to make the most out of points that you can score here. And of course, if you get close enough, you still may have a chance of trying to win the frame without getting to the green, the brown, and the blue. Though not really if you play shots like that. Positional success 84%, which I feel like that's generous. I feel like that would be in the 70s for me if you trust the eye test. But once again, looking for a red to be taken. He'll win this frame surely. Well, listen, it's going to be interesting. Is he trying to take this red into the middle? Surely has to be at this stage. Whether he'll make it or not, he won't. Not even close. Not even close. And let's see where the red is going to finish. He's going to finish very safe. So, yeah, you felt like Ronnie is going to try, and if he manages to get that cue ball to be tied up to the green, another thing that he needs to do is, of course, make sure that the red is going to miss the cluster of the brown and blue. But I feel like that's something that his creative brain is certainly going to be all over of. As we now see the new addition to the highest breaks there of... he doesn't want that green to be in the pocket. He doesn't want the reds to be too close to the pocket either. And it seems like it's not all right, but it's not too bad, I would say. Because it's difficult for me to say if Watchalong can get through to this red, because if he can, he's still going to be advantage over to him, and he may try and finish off this frame. Ooh, I mean, it's close. It seems like he's playing, I can't really tell you, to be honest with you. Which red is he playing for? Oh, he's playing for the attacking option, but, I mean, he didn't really get too close to that one, and he still manages to cannon the red away perfectly onto the side cushion. So, yeah, it just seems like he's desperate to try and get that one frame on the board. And for now, he's not getting too close to it. With 162 points that he scored, Ronnie's just going to try and get the cue ball to be in behind the blue and the brown. I mean, he didn't get too far away from that because he has managed to do the primary goal, I would say, because he has managed to separate the two of them away from each other. The brown is now potable, the blue not so much, but because of how close the blue is to the brown, I feel like he may actually be able to do something with it. When you get to that stage, of course, if you get to that stage, you may still be proving that he's just sort of freed up the brown for Watchalong out there. Is he going to go for the double? He has gone for the double, but I feel like he is trying to do, he's trying too much to a certain stage. And let's see if Ronnie's going to be able to get past the green here. And, well, it seems like it's close. Seems like it's very close. I wouldn't really make a prediction if he can, because he's playing for it. But, I mean, somehow he's managed to take too much out of it. And is he going to get a little bit of luck of his own? The answer seems to be negative. And Watchalong is going to have a chance to try and take the other red away. But, of course, the red that Ronnie has missed is now gone a little bit safe. So it'll be interesting to see what Shaq can try and do with it. And the answer is he couldn't do anything with it for now. But, of course, he is going to be looking to try and take that red away with a double. So then, what's he going to be points-wise? About to go 17 clear. So he will need the yellow pretty much as the frame ball. If he takes that red with considerable, if he takes the both of those reds away with the significant colours. Now he's lined up for the double, so he's getting that cue ball to be closer to the black ball cushion, you would feel. So 17 ahead, 35 remaining, and we'll see what's it going to be right now. Can he try and take this red away? He's missed the double beforehand. This is going to be closer to the pocket, which makes it easier for him. So let's see what's he going to be. And he's going to go straight into the heart of the pocket. But now, where's the position on the colour is going to be? And the answer was on his face. He wasn't even close to the position on the pink or the black. And, well, what's he going to be now? Is it worth for him to try and put the black onto the cushion and position that cue ball to be in behind the pink? 18 points right now is the lead. So O'Sullivan will certainly need the black, and it will make it very difficult for a total clearance. But still, once again, it's just down to, if he's managed to cover up enough there, because he hasn't put the black perfectly onto the cushion. So now, once again, it's a break of 8 points there from Watchalong. And he will be down to try and get that cue ball to be running across the jaws, carefully take it into the yellow. And now he needs a little bit of a backup from the blue and the side cushion. He kind of got it, and he does change the, it doesn't really change anything here in terms of him not taking the colour. He still needs the yellow, but this time around he will need the green as well. So whenever you take a yellow like that, you need to make sure you bring the cue ball somewhat close towards the green, and then you should be lined up nicely for, a frame win to be yours for the taking. But of course, O'Sullivan won't do anything for charity here. He won't try and, just get on with this one as soon as he possibly can, just so that he can try and move on to the second session. It's not really what the competitive spirit is all about, but he seems to have played this one really well, and Ronnie in the background acknowledging that was a good shot. But for now, it doesn't really get him any closer. I mean, it's one shot now on the green. He can try and go for it now. Whether he does do it or not remains to be seen. He's got a lot of the area for the green to aim at, but only a little bit of it will bring it towards the green pocket. And then, of course, he will be pretty much mission impossible for Ronnie to prevent him from winning this frame. He's gone for it with power, and he seems to have struck that one about as well as he could have. So it is going to be frame to Watchalong there, it would seem. So 23 points is the advantage, 22 left at the table. Yeah, Ronnie couldn't do anything with it, but certainly, if he was trying to keep a clean sheet there, he should have made sure that he wasn't going to leave a chance away. And now, it is going to be no reason for Ronnie to come back here, as it is a break of, just 9 points. But ultimately, it will be enough for Watchalong to try and get himself through to 5-1 of a deficit at least. So let's see if that's going to sort of spark Ronnie up to try and play better, or is it going to be just, an inspiration for Watchalong out there, because you feel like this could have easily been avoided. It's not quite been the story same as the third frame where, Xie Guoxiang was playing way too well at the beginning. And Ronnie had so many points that he needed to try and recover from. That was, all a bit self-inflicted there by Ronnie. And you feel like at some stage where you don't take your chances, you're always likely to try and pay the price from your opponent. But in the end, it's a decent break of 14 points there. And it will be down to Xie Guoxiang to at least get on the score sheet, as it is Ronnie O'Sullivan 5, Xie Guoxiang 1. GG's frame settler at last. Yes, it certainly is the case. And, well, the interesting thing about it is that, as I say, what's it going to be from Ronnie O'Sullivan's point of view? Is he going to try and respond with a better performance of his own? Or is he going to be down to, just business as usual, and it doesn't really mean anything, which I feel like is not really what it's all about. You want to make sure that you react accordingly, and the according reaction is certainly going to be down to really good performance in the next frame, and make sure you are certainly going to be the man to beat once again. But for now, I still say he's got a really good chance of trying to win the next frame. But we have to wait and see on whether that is going to be the case at last. Because for now, Ronnie O'Sullivan is still looking pretty nice in relation to the winning this match very comfortably, of course. But, it is going to be down to having one more frame win, which will allow him to try and take 6-3 of an advantage as a guarantee there. And then if it's going to be a little bit of a different outcome, then he's going to be prepared for it as well. But for now, he certainly seems like he's comfortable here. And 2 hours into this session, it's now going to be down to 3 more frames for us to be seeing. And then that will be the end of this particular part of the showdown. And then it will have to continue on 2:30 o'clock in the afternoon tomorrow. GG's frame settler at last. So 90% feel like Ronnie will win this session, which, probably was a bit of a poll at the beginning of it. It's not going to be a poll right now, because whatever he does in the remaining 3 frames, as long as he doesn't decide to walk out, then he should be lined up very nicely for taking this one away as a session in total. But the interesting thing is, of course, he's not going to be able to deliver a first round whitewash. But he's still looking, potentially right now, if he manages to, only lose 1 more frame on his way to eventually winning the whole match. It will be down to him and Weezer to share the biggest joint defeat of, inflicted defeat on their opponents. And through to the second round they'll go, facing very interesting opposition players if Ronnie is to join that elite club. For now, he's trying to get that cue ball to be safe, and I'll tell you what, he got one of those reds to be way too high up the table. I'm not sure if he's managed to get the cover on the brown, because it seems like it's close, but at the same time, seems like it's going to be good enough for him to try and make, the minimum contact with it, because he's certainly looking at it, which sometimes, especially with this red, only needing a little bit of a touch for you to try and cut into the left middle. Maybe he's looking at the potential escape route for the left side cushion, but that one is going to be a very difficult shot for you to judge the pace of the cue ball. Oh, he's completely blown that one away. Let's see where the cue ball is going to finish. And I'm not sure what he has finished, because it feels like he's actually managed to come away with this one. But that was certainly 7 points, of course. Sometimes you just forget the rules of snooker there. I wasn't even looking if he got the black. I was looking at whether he was going to give a red away. But of course, that was the foul shot. So Ronnie O'Sullivan would just ask the referee to respot the cue ball exactly where he was. And, the attempt to be taken for the second time. So let's see if it's going to take a little bit of time. Yeah, but ultimately, listen, it's difficult for him to try and make an adjustment, because he feels like he needs to avoid the lower end of their main bunch of reds. But for him to try and do that, he certainly needs to make sure he's not going to be, he's changed the shot completely. So he's just going to go with the first option, as I say, because he can see the left-hand side of those reds. He just has to make sure he doesn't hit this one too thick, and he has. So now, once again, it's down to Ronnie. If he wants to try and take the red away into the corner, and like the one where Xie Guoxiang has left him with on the previous occasion. This one is possible, but it seems like he got a little bit too wide, and that's going to be put over the corner pocket there, unless it's going to be a plant there, which he needs to be taken. So he might have got away with that one to an extent, but it's still not really good enough from Ronnie's point of view. Well, he's had a decent opportunity now in a couple of those frames to get over at least the starting point. And then he just seems like to struggle to do that. The century of 113, the breaks of 72, 97, all seem like they're quite far gone. And all of that seems like it's disappeared after the intermission. Because even if you talk about the frame number 5, it's been anything but comfortable. And yeah, that plant was impossible to miss unless you don't make the contact with the second red at all. So now it is going to be down to Watchalong to try and make it another frame win as he plays the blue. And ideally wants to try and preserve those easy reds at the end point of the break, where he's still going to have those reds to try and separate away from the bunch. Feels like he's going to have other plans with it. He may be trying to do it right now for the black here though, but he's way too straight on this one for a split of the pack. He's got one more of those reds right underneath the main bunch of 9 reds next to the pink spot, which I'm not sure is going to be playable, and it's actually going to be more of a problem to me if it's not playable, of course, because you have to try and avoid making contact with that particular red for you to get a really firm contact into the main bunch. But for now, it's a break of 14 points. We've seen plenty of those already by Watchalong, but you can see, haven't really seen too many breaks of 16 plus points for him. And just looking to try and take this red away, play for the pink, and a little bit surprised that he's played this shot for the right middle once again. But simply because it will require him to play this shot with topspin, which means playing the shot closer towards those reds, and he sort of managed to minimize the distance there in between the cue ball and the red, but still, it sort of feels like, you know, I'm not sure if once again it is going to be part of his plan, because he puts the pink to be underneath the main bunch, which I'd say is going to be a great advantage to him, but ultimately he will be down to trying to do that on the last couple of those reds, which, you know, at the point where he started his break, he certainly felt like he was going to be down to a decent opportunity to try and leave a couple of those to be over the pocket, and then the rest of them can just, you know, sort of be very much the influence point where he'll be able to cannon the cue ball onto the reds. And, well, it seems like if he was playing for the pink, he's overplayed for that one, so he needs to be taking the black here, which once again puts it down to the last red and the color combination for him to try and make this one right. Although you feel like he's got a little bit of the angle here, but he tried to use that angle to try and get on the red. But, I mean, it's not bad because he still has got the angle to try and play for the blue. He has to forget about trying to do that from the black, which I feel like it's actually going to be a bit of a good thing, because the pink is going to be an extension of the red, which I said you need to avoid. So doing that from the blue may actually be the best thing that he can do here. So let's see if he gets the red in first, and he has. Now let's see the angle on the blue, and it's going to be perfect. So this is all down to you. You've got 10 reds. You only need one of them to be there for the next shot, and right now you've got the break of 30. You're joint second highest of the entire match there. About to make it 35 if you take the blue in. So then just carefully try and make sure you do the business quite nicely here and make the contact point with a firm part of those reds, and he's going to be very unlucky if he's not on anything easy. And I mean, that's unlucky because he's not really on anything easy, but he's got so many options here that it's difficult for me to say that he's unlucky. It's one of those things where the blue is in the way for him to take it as a comfortable rest shot. He's trying to do that without the rest as well. Listen, if he plays for the blue for one more time, he should be frame over. But this is now just the reds, and yeah, really well done. So just make sure you get those reds away from the black ball spot so that you can try and pot them without any issues. And then you should be lined up very nicely for a 5-2 of a deficit to try and work with. And once again, I mean, we've seen that, unfortunately, with Ronnie ever since that intermission, where it just seems like he's, you know, either got himself out of the rhythm, dropped out of it, or just hasn't been playing that well. But all of a sudden, those every single frame starts with an opportunity away for Watchalong, and what he needs to do is to make sure that he's not going to be blocking himself from getting on the reds. He's sort of done that, I'm not sure if the other red can get past the pink, which, I mean, once again, he creates himself a little bit of an issue here. It should be the one that he can manage, but it depends on what he can see out there, because, you know, you may have to try and bridge over all these reds with a rest shot to try and take the red with loads of power, because the black is not going to be available into the left-hand side of the table, so he needs to try and play for the blue. And it does look very simple, but it's not quite as simple when you need loads of power behind it. And he seems to have got that one right in relation to the pot success. He didn't really get too close to the blue though. But of course he's managed to now get that black to be available into the right-hand side of the table. So just looking to try and make it onto the brown or yellow. It depends on which one is it going to be. So 35 points is the advantage. Make sure you carefully take that yellow away and bring the white on to be closer to the red at the top end of the table. So right now it does seem like he can't sort of struggle at all with those particular performances. And yeah, it just seems like he's actually finding himself to be in a position where, even though he still creates himself a couple of those troubles, right now, on the consistent level and a consistent basis, he's able to get himself out of those issues. So if he continues like that, he could well be a little bit of a comeback from 5-0 down all the way to 5-4. Of course, it is going to be ambitious, but nobody say he can't sort of do that all the time. And, you know, he's certainly going to get himself lined up for a shot into the left middle right now with the blue. So just try and carefully take it with the cue ball. Make sure you play through the blue, and once again get yourself positioned for the red to be taken into the right-hand side of the table. From two different options there, I feel like you should go for the easier one first, because you'll get him the angle on the blue anyway, and you're just all about trying to control the pace of the white. It doesn't seem like he's got plenty of those issues with pot success, as we've seen, and it's a little bit too much on the pace, but he should be able to recover from this one. Once again, it's a little bit of a shame for him that he's not able to get himself through to the black, because he would have made the life a lot more easier. But it may be a little bit too late for that now, because, well, I mean, the cue ball is a little bit too far from the blue. And of course, that makes the control part a little bit more difficult for him. So he just needs to control the bounce and needs to make sure that he's not going to be blocked off by the black on the red, which I'm not sure he's done, you know. It's going to be close, which means if it's close but he can see it, then it's perfect. But if it's close that he can't see it, then it's going to have to be another red that he's taken. So once again, it just seems like he's confident, but he just wants to check for one more time. And now he's not confident. So he's going for another red. So what's he going to be here? I mean, how badly can you see it? Because that red, which is the second option, probably forces you to try and drop for the pink. Now he goes for the first option after all that. So is he going to take the shot on? It's important. The frame is not won just yet. And he's taking that one well. Depends on where the cue ball is going to finish. And he seems to have finished pretty nicely on the blue. So once again, it is going to be down to Watchalong having a really good opportunity to try and make it 2 on the bounce with a very different style of play there. Because O'Sullivan didn't score any points. The 7 that you can see on the screen have come from foul point, foul shot. Ever since that stage, you know, we've seen plenty of those shots to be taken there by Watchalong. And right now, seems like he finds himself in a pretty good position to try and get that gap down from 5-0 over to 5-2 here. So he just needs a couple of more shots there as well. Just trying to drop that cue ball for the red. He doesn't really want to be slightly on the top side of it, because that will force him to try and hit this shot with so much power. And he may as well try and roll it for the... He can't really roll it, but a little bit of backspin to try and stay on the pink. At that stage, he'll be sort of 56 points up with 59 at the table. So it's now down to a red and a colour. And then he should be nicely lined up for a frame win number 2, which will put him right back in the mix with the greatest of all time. It's a bit of an interesting shot that he's played. He clearly didn't fancy himself to try and take the pink as he was. And the cue ball right now is going to be placed perfectly for the black ball cushion, but he should still be able to cut the pink in. The angle suggests that it's difficult, but it shouldn't really be too difficult for you to try and get this one in. And, I mean, he's used the entirety of the pocket, but he's still got the pink to be in, which is the most important factor. You know, it's easier than it looks, but he nearly missed that one up. And you can see the reaction of the audience. They Of course, they couldn't see it better than we have on the screen, but 62 points right now is the difference. So let's see if Ronnie's going to try and come back into the action here, because it certainly seems like he's been dropped out of the action for a while. And right now, you feel like, potentially could get into a little bit of a comeback here for Watchalong, because right now he still finds himself with a decent chance of trying to make a game out of this session. He's gone for a plant into the corner. He's made that one in. And even though he's not going to be on the black, it doesn't really matter at this stage, because he still finds himself in a really good position to try and, well, all of a sudden, as I say, make a game out of it. Because if you're going to be down to trying to make a difference in the next frame, then it's the best way for you to do it is by making a break of 76 points, as you can see, and counting as he takes the pink really nicely into the right middle. All of a sudden, that 5-0 Oliver gap that we've seen from Ronnie seems like it's long gone, and he will be down to a potential chance here for Watchalong to try and come back into the mix here. And let me just refresh the stream to see what's going to happen here. And yeah, what's going to happen is a potential break of 127 points. It's not going to happen, unfortunately. It is a break of 77 points exactly, as Watchalong makes it the end of the 7th frame, and is still just about back in the mix for this session. It is Ronnie O'Sullivan 5, Watchalong 2, as it's now 2 frames on the bounce that we can see from Watchalong that he won. Let's see if he can try and make it 3 on the bounce, because at that stage, he will have Ronnie in a little bit of trouble, and he'll certainly get him thinking about what can potentially happen in the 2nd session of tomorrow's afternoon. Because for now, it still seems like the scoreline is going to favour Ronnie massively. But, a couple of more of those frame wins, especially if we're going to see more of break of 77 from Watchalong, or anything higher than that, then it's still going to be a decent opportunity for him to try and take this match, if not the distance, then certainly take it into a comfortable place for himself. As now Ronnie is still going to be looking to try and get through to the 2nd round without, needing to get out of the 2nd gear, which he's been stuck in for a while after the downshift of the intermission. And yeah, from his point of view, it feels like he's gone past the point where he's playing well quite a bit of time ago in the 5th frame, and then he's lost out on the 6th and 7th frame. So what he does need to make sure is that he doesn't make it a sequence, and he doesn't actually allow, Watchalong to go on a winning streak of 3 or more frames, because that's when, it could get dangerous for Ronnie if he allows him all the way back from sort of, 5 frames to 0, all the way to 5 frames to 4 right now. It's going to be a bit of a different case scenario, as we now see Olivier Martial to try and, set up the reds, the colours, and the cue ball here. So right now, I'd still probably stick with 6-3. I wouldn't say that he's actually going to be able to win 4 frames on a bounce. It is going to be very difficult to try and do against someone like Ronnie O'Sullivan. Even though he's not playing consistently well, he's certainly playing some, good snooker occasionally. Is that the problem is we're now down to those 3 frames where we haven't seen that positivity from Ronnie. And he will be down to just trying to make the most out of his chances here, as it's a different break-off shot once again from Watchalong in comparison to what we've seen from Ronnie's point of view, and keeping those reds really nicely tucked in into the middle point, all covered up by the green, certainly on the left-hand side. I'm not sure if Ronnie just about can get through to those reds on the right-hand side of it. You can see 80 plays 14, 132 plays 0, 56 plays 46, 113 plays 0, 67 plays 59, and then 2 frames where 33 plays 65, 7 plays 77. The latest 2 have been won by Watchalong, as you can see. But I feel like he can still do more there from his point of view, because he's got such a great weapon of trying to unleash the long shots, of where if he's going to be able to try and get himself with an opening chance, we've seen what he can do with that break of 77, even of 44 to an extent, because he came, at that point, at a very important visit to the table. What we're going to see from Ronnie's point of view, because, as I say, it's been 3 frames where he hasn't done anything special. That frame number 5 where he was able to win was thrown by Watchalong there, really, because he's missed that blue, despite it being a little bit of too much of an angle for him to try and pot into the middle. right now, it will be down to Ronnie trying to get past the blue and the reds. See if he's managed to put that cue ball into a safe place. It seems like he has, especially where the black is right now. Going to be a bit of a different scenario here for Watchalong, because right now, of course, he'll realise he has to try and get himself an easier position than this, because for him to try and win the frame, because I'm not even sure that Ronnie will be able to easily get on the black from the first time of asking, as he now gives the turn over to the player from China again. So try and carefully take it a bit of a nudge towards the left-hand side. Make sure you avoid the contact with the yellow, or at least if it is going to be a contact with the yellow, it's going to be from the left-hand side, which you leave that cue ball to be very close to the bow cushion again. Acknowledgement there from Ronnie. And yeah, let's see what he's going to be able to sort of achieve from this position of the table, because it feels like if he's going to be able to get that cue ball far enough from the jaws of the corner pocket, then he should put that cue ball somewhere safe. And you can see there, just guiding it with his cue. He's played another great shot there from a safety play, but I feel like he's just left a little bit of a margin from the right-hand side of the table there, where she's going to be able to take those two reds next to the pink, play one of them towards the left corner of the table, and now just once again having a look towards the position of those reds, and probably just realizing that you will be down to playing those reds into one another. Make sure there is going to be a little bit of a sort of breakup point from that stage onwards, and just doesn't want to make sure, sorry, does want to make sure that he doesn't leave any one of those reds to be over the pocket. And for now, it seems like he's done just that. He's put the black to be in a very specific position there, where unless you get perfectly close to it, it's going to be very difficult for you to pot it. And even when you do, the black spot itself is available, but it's trying to get through to that black spot. And even if you do that, it's still going to be impossible for you to try and put the black into the left or the right part of the table. So it's now going to be down to Ronnie to try and have a look on if it's going to be worth for him to try and take that red close to the left corner. You know, it seems like it's been a little bit of time since his last pot time. So, you know, certainly didn't have one in the previous frame, and didn't finish the frame before that with a good clearance either. So just once again having a look to see the relation of those reds. I'm not too sure what he's doing that. Probably about to find out with the next shot that he plays. But surely if he takes the red closest to the... Well, I mean, he's trying to take the one a little bit further away from the pocket. Just about misses the blue, which was very important for him, because that would have left Watchalong with a chance to try and take one of those reds away. So for now, you feel like Ronnie's still going to be capable to try and punish you for those mistakes. But the thing that he's going to be missing right now is a good chance where he gets the red and the black combination in. And as we've seen in frames number 6 and 7, you know, in the 7th frame, of course, it was the only mistake which allowed Watchalong to make a break of 77 points, which proved to be enough at that stage to make the most out of that frame visit. So once again, just trying to find the red into the corner, but this time he's about to put the red over the corner pocket. Has he got the cover on the yellow? He certainly has got the cover on the yellow and the brown. So this is going to be interesting from Ronnie, and he feels like he probably has got no choice but to play a shot into the corner, which, I mean, the problem is, if you take the red, that's nice, but you still need to try and find the position on the colour, because if you don't find the position on the colour, and you have to play a safety shot away, you still have that red to be over the corner pocket, because you would not have used it, because you played for a different red, because you can't see that dangerous red. So you feel like he's going to have to find a little bit of magic here. He's capable of doing that. So let's see what's it going to be. And it's a red that he misses. But of course, with how close it is going to be towards the left corner, he's not going to leave the same red away, which I mentioned, because of him having to take that red on. But I can't quite tell if the black is going to be in the way of the red to be taken into the right corner, because it's still going to be a difficult introduction there for Watchalong. And one thing that he can try and do, it depends on how much of the black can he actually see, of the red he can actually see there, but it seems like the choice is made. He's going to go for the red into the right middle. I genuinely thought he can try and roll that red away from the cue ball and get the white to be perfectly behind the black. which basically forces Ronnie to try and make contact with those reds somehow. And at that stage, if he's not going to leave that dangerous red over the corner, then he should leave him somewhere else to try and make use of. For now, clearly, he's going to try and fancy his chances of going for the red into the middle. And right now, he's clearly playing the better of the two players. And he's going to be getting the first chance of this frame number 8. It's a really good shot there. No way he makes that chance with the first couple of frames, but he certainly managed to up his game and up his performance really nicely here. So let's see what's it going to be from his standard of play. And what can he try and make out of this visit to the table, because it still seems like he's going to go for a really good run, and then he sort of, goes in there or out with a break of 30 points, but then he's still going to be capable of making a really good break of 77 points in the previous time, and then he is going to be capable of missing the blue from the spot, which is absolutely extraordinary. But he might have actually somehow got away with this one, because if he's going to have, what can Ronnie see into the left corner? He certainly can't do anything with the colours. It's going to be really interesting to see on the relation of those reds and the cue ball. And it's really close out there, To me, probably just about can't see it, but what do you do if you can't see it? He's got two reds to be over the left and the right corner. Does he go for a plant into the right part of the table? Does he go for a plant into the left part of the table? The one into the right is easier, because the red is closer to the pocket. You may have to try and just cue the red into the second one. And he seems to have got that one pretty well. If he's going to be on the black, it should still be a really nice line there for Ronnie O'Sullivan to be taking in relation to that black about to disappear into the left corner of the table. So let's see if he just tries to take this black away carefully well, then he should be lined up nicely for another couple of reds to be taken. So this is now the position that, either Shegoshan or Ronnie O'Sullivan had been dreaming about for the last couple of frames, especially with, Ronnie O'Sullivan's point of view, because he found himself losing 2 frames. You can see there his average shot time is about to once again increase slightly, which is going to be a good thing, because it clearly shows to me that he's going to try and actually pay attention to what's happening around him, which hasn't really been the case in the last 3 frames. And, pot success in frames 1 and 5, 96%, and frames 6 and 8, 76% there. So 13 shots that he's taken, and only, 17 shots that he's taken, only 13 of them have made the target. So he's had 4 misses in the 3 of those frames, and then he's had 5 misses in the entirety of the first 5 frames, despite he making 100 more shots in those 5 visits to the table. So for now, just having a look to see if he's going to be able to just carefully try and take the pace away from the reds, make sure he positions himself nicely for the black, about to be taken into the right corner, and just having a bit of a look to see on what's going to happen in relation to the other reds as he tries to get past the black for the right-hand side of the table. I feel like still it's going to be super important for Ronnie to try and get somewhere near the form that he's been showing in the first 5 frames, because for now, once again, it is going to be down to just his inability to try and get the most out of those chances, which, as much as you can compliment him, he's been really getting loads of those beforehand, and it just doesn't seem like he's been able to make the most out of half of them or something. And it's now the break of 25 points, but this is a really nice starting point for him. He's about to take the black into the right corner, make sure that cue ball, he's going to be getting the slight bit of backspin. It doesn't want to be too close to that red, but ultimately it doesn't want to be too straight on it, which may have to try and swerve around the black here. So just carefully trying to have a study of the situation. He's got 31 points of a lead, but at this stage, once again, with Shegoshan actually playing quite well in the recent couple of frames, he may have to try and make it the break that actually takes the frame all the way without needing to rely on a second chance there. So once again, it seems like he can't get through to the black into the left corner, so it's going to be down to just trying to carefully... that was a mistake. Look at that face reaction. That's certainly going to be one for the memes. But Ronnie O'Sullivan has got a miscue, and he's still got made the contact with the reds. But that certainly was anything but comfortable for him, and that will give the turn back to Watchalong. And yeah, 31 points of a difference. It's not going to be enough, as I said. He needed to try and make the frame work in his favour. Right now, it doesn't seem like that will be the case right here at this stage. But if Watchalong is going to be able to try and take this red away into the corner, position himself for the black, and he hasn't done so. So once again, I hope for his sake, we're not really going to be back to the struggling position there where he can't string a sequence of 2 shots together. And now it's going to be 2.5 hours of action. So still going to be very much on course to try and be a little bit quicker than Gary Wilson's match against Watchalong. But of course we'll have to get the pretty quick resolution to this particular frame. But it doesn't really seem like we are going to get to it. And yeah, it's going to be green ball called there by Watchalong. So yeah, turn is going to have to go back to Ronnie O'Sullivan here. And you will all be down to just a shot that he can try and get in behind the blue. It's a decent effort there once again, but he didn't quite get in behind the blue. He sort of barged the blue out of the way. And it's now going to be Ronnie that has got the ability to see the 2 reds on the left-hand side, but ultimately the reds on the right-hand side as well. If he's to try and get through to either one of those. And gets the cue ball a little bit too close to the green pocket, but he will stay out and away from the jaws of the pocket out there. And well, once again, he will force Watchalong to be taking and avoiding action in relation to the 2 reds to be taken in the right-hand side of the table. Feel like if he's going to be able to do that, then he will be put simply down to the position of the cue ball, trying to get it through to the top end of the table. Seems to have done that pretty well. Just wants to try and get past the green here. He hasn't done so. But he has sort of barged the green out of the way, and then he's gone over the top of the cue ball, which, unless Ronnie's going to try and take the red on the left-hand side of the table, is going to make this next shot very difficult and very awkward there from Ronnie's point of view. And yeah, it seems like he's not going to be focused too much about the attacking display and just try and focus on the safety side of things, although got a little bit too much action on the cue ball. And he has put it closer to the brown, not necessarily close enough though to justify the shot that he's played, because he's still, well, to be fair, I mean, if you can't see the second closest red to the right side cushion, then he probably hasn't done enough there to force a mistake from his opponent. But I bet Ronnie didn't really expect that he has to try and grind out those frames when he was 5-0 up, but that's the reality. And of course that's the realization where he doesn't want to lose 3 frames on the bounce now. Although, as I say, he's still left at one of those opportunities to be taken into the right corner from Watchalong. Well, that one was anything but close. And he was actually closer towards the green pocket than he was towards the corner that he was playing for. And well, I mean, that wasn't planned, but it may still resolve to be a perfect outcome there for Watchalong, because he's managed to somehow snooker O'Sullivan in behind the blue. And when it looked like Ronnie was going to be the one to try and take advantage of that mistake, seems like he's the one to pay the price, though he hasn't done anything wrong, of course. But this is what happens if you have a good run of 2 frames. The balls start to be sort of against you slightly. You've Ronnie O'Sullivan's case, and he's going to be slightly missing out on the pace of the cue ball. So he needs to try and hit that one harder. And you'll have to wait and see if he's going to be able to do that from the second attempt. Of course, it's not going to be down to a 3-miss rule. It's just down to how many of those points is he going to give away there for Watchalong. Now, for now, it seems like he will be down to just trying to replicate the same line and just a little bit more of the power. So, yeah, Ronnie seems like he was happy with it, but at the end point just seems like he swapped his mind. It doesn't really make a difference to me, to be honest with you, from looking at this angle, but you know, we've seen that before with Gary Wilson and Trump, where a slight adjustment was important, and then in the end, Trump was able to get it from the second time whilst not changing his line at all. So, yep, seems like there's going to be absolutely no change to be made, as I say, but you know, Ronnie is not going to argue too much, just asking to double check. And now, this time around, well, he's going to have exactly the same outcome there, it would seem. just about there, enough pace to make sure there is going to be a contact made in between the cue ball and the red. And now we'll be down to Chegoshan to just try and give a nudge towards the cue ball to make sure that he doesn't give away a touching ball here. And well, in the end, it seems like he's changed his mind there halfway through the shot. And yeah, he's just kind of going to have to try and snooker that cue ball in behind the blue in relation to the red that he was playing for, which it seems like he's managed to do. Now we'll be down to Ronnie's just trying to bring that cue ball down the table. Or is he going to try and go for an attacking shot here? Seems like he's gone for a second option, and that's going to finish anything but nice for him. And that will give a chance away to Chegoshan. It's very disappointing that from Ronnie's point of view, because once again, I mean, whether he was, wise enough not to be doing that, but he wasn't really making so, obvious mistakes like the one that he has made in the previous 5 frames. And once again, even down to the 5th frame, we've seen a couple of those where it's not to be taken perfectly well, but at least the outcome of the scoreline was there for him. Right now, he's not going to have the luxury of that here. And he will be down to Chegoshan to try and wander around the table to see what's going to be the reality for him, because he hasn't played a good shot on the red either. So he will be down to taking a black with, not necessarily the perfect line for him. And yeah, it will be put down to the test in relation to Ronnie surely can't afford to lose 4 frames on the bounce, because that would put all of his work of the morning session very much out of the equation there, afternoon. But before the first mini session has ended, and it seems like Chegoshan has just about played this shot well enough because of, as I say, not playing the perfect shot on the black previously. Is he going to be able to get through to this red? No, he won't. Well, look differently from the different angle, but right now he's going to have to try and do something with those reds. I mean, once again, it seems like the form that he's had in the previous frame has gone out of the picture as well. And he may actually be considering to try and, make contact with the cue ball towards the top red, which neither of the players may necessarily need for him to try and win the frame if they get the next chance. But he's got 2 options here, once again. Trying to play the cue ball into the top reds to try and play a safety shot, or try and initiate the plant with one of those reds towards the right corner. Have to wait and see on which one it is going to be. And in the end, somehow he's missed both of them, despite having gone too close. And, well, where's the red going to finish? Where's the cue ball going to finish? It seems like it's not going to finish in the perfect position there, which is going to be good enough for Chegoshan, which will allow Ronnie O'Sullivan to be, sort of seeing the red at the right corner of the table. Though it's going to be close. He needs to try and go for a swerve here. See, he's going to be able to get it here. Tries to get past the brown. Has he got too close to the red though? And he's going to be able to get the red in, but when it comes to taking the colour, he's going to have to be taking a really difficult pink here into the right-hand side of the table. So he's still got a really good chance to try end the session on a high, and potentially, despite that performance being pretty much average there, I would say, especially with the drop-off in the recent 3 frames, still got a chance to try and make it as a 7-2 of a scoreline, which will be anything but comfortable for Chegoshan's point of view. Now just having a look towards the red that he's about to take into the right part of the table. So 25 points right now. He's going to be the advantage as he tries to go for that red and leave the cue for the pink or the black. He's actually able to find a gap there, nicely playing the cue past those reds, and lines up for the pink here to be taken. Come on, Ronnie. Yes, certainly. This is what the Sheffield wants to see. This is what the world wants to see. Maybe apart from China, but even at that stage, I'm pretty sure that, the support is going to be pretty much evenly split, if not more in favour of the 7-time world champion. 32 points right now is his deficit in his favour over to Chegoshan, and he's about to take the black for the 3rd time here. Make sure he's going to have a chance to... Well, is he going to have to try and go for the pink here? Because he's got 4 more reds, which will take him over the finish line. In fact, probably putting 3 of them will take him over the line of making sure that he will be down to Chegoshan, of trying to make it down to the last couple of frames. For now, he's hit that cue ball through the black pretty nicely. And has he got enough of the angle to try and take that red without further complications? I'd say he has. As long as he goes past the other two reds, then he should be lined up nicely. Oh, I mean, that's anything but comfortable. This has to go into the front jaw, and it's played really nicely there by Ronnie. Once again, sometimes it's 2 shots, that's all you need for you to try and feel like you're actually getting a little bit out of the game, which feels like he's been shut down for a good majority of those 4 frames. But, you know, the factor is he could still find himself winning 2 of those, which is going to be equally as good as any performance, any spell of the match for Chegoshan. And just a couple of more shots there for Ronnie to try and get, especially in relation to those reds. And he's now going to be 48 points clear, and a break of 30 points and counting. Make that 37. He's certainly going to be enough for Chegoshan to be needing snookers. Listen, after a little bit of a bad spell, it is Ronnie that comes back stronger, and it is Ronnie that is able to take that red away into the corner. 56 points as the advantage now for him, with 43 at the table, and it is going to be, once again, 4 frame of a deficit re-established there. 6-2 in his favour. It's the only thing that matters for you to try and get into the second round. If it's not going to be pretty, listen, tell me a player that so far that has played the best snooker of their life in the first round of this championship. Not Xiaozington, not Mark Williams, not John Higgins, and probably not Karen Wilson, certainly. As he now about to take the pink away into the right corner, asking for a little bit of a contact on the reds. And it would have been a real long shot for him to make, you know, a break of any more than just 52 points, as you can see. And yeah, not too sure what that was all about, but in the end, it will be a break of 52 points, which will be enough for Ronnie to try and get himself over the finish line. And now it is all down to the last frame of the session. 2.5 hours, well, a little bit more than that, nearly 3 hours since the match has started. It will be down to either Ronnie O'Sullivan or Chegoshan to win that frame number 9 and get themselves through to at least a ticket into the second session. Whether it's going to be down to a survival ticket for Chegoshan, because right now we can see the exact repetition of the scoreline of the International Championship of the previous season, where it was 6 frames to 2. Of course, this time around, the match doesn't quite end here. And it will be down to the first to 10 to see which one of the players will try and have the better chance before frame number 19, potentially. As I say, could still be heading the distance if, you know, Ronnie wasn't able to rediscover his form right now. It's still going to be very much a long shot for Chegoshan to try and do something about it, but I feel like that break of 32 points very early into the frame has actually sparked Ronnie O'Sullivan to make sure that he was going to be the player looking to try and make the most out of this particular match. And yeah, he certainly looks like he is able to get himself through to a decent situation here in relation to what he's done beforehand. And right now, he certainly seems he's actually able to find himself in quite a comfortable position. You know, it is going to be down to the relation of the two players, where they have got a bit of a different ceiling. That break of 77 points was probably about as good as he's going to get for Chegoshan. He had a really good chance with the blue after he was the one to take the opening chance away. You know, O'Sullivan took the red, but Chegoshan took the opportunity away. And he wasn't quite able to take the blue with the shot from the spot, which was disappointing for him for sure. But right now, it will be down to, well, pretty sure it's going to be the final frame of the session. I have missed out on the announcement, but it's been very consistently 9 frames. It's not really a point for the referee to be asking to try and get any more out of the players, because the schedule is 9, and you know, there's not really a chance for you to ask them to play any more of those frames, because, of course, technically, the only reason why you're going to play more than 9 is going to be down to a decider, and apart from that, you should try and spread those frames evenly across the board, which is what WPBSA, I'm pretty sure, are trying to do here. So now 6-2 is going to be the gap in favour of Ronnie O'Sullivan, as he's about to rise from his chair again, seeing that Chegoshan is not going for anything aggressive and just trying to carefully make his way, well, make that cue ball away all the way to the top end of the table. Seems to have played that shot really nicely, to be fair. And now it will be down to Ronnie to try and not necessarily feel the pressure, but see what he can try and do here in relation to all the other reds. So referee there just reminding the crowd to be quiet. Big frame 7-2 will be difficult to overcome, yes, but 6-3 will probably be an underachievement there for Ronnie, so he's going to have to try and go for this frame here. Make sure he wins it, and then when he does, if he does, then he should be lined up nicely for a brief second session visit if everything is to go according to his plan, which I'm pretty sure he's going to have plenty of those plans lined up for tomorrow's afternoon. For now, one more frame for him to try and take care of the business and carefully trying to take that cue ball around the table and nicely positioned for the black ball cushion. It's not really, but I would have actually been the one to initiate the applause for that shot because it was difficult to make sure that cue ball was going to hug the outside line of the reds without touching it and just carefully bounce his way off the right side. You know, still not going to force Watchalong into any more of a trouble. He should be just trying to carefully play the shot away with the minimal contact on the red. He hasn't really played that shot about as well as he could have because of, catching the brown midway. So right now he's not going to have the cue ball to be lined up perfectly for the ball cushion. But as it stands, he's still got a really good line to try and take the cue ball away into the red, into the corner. And then the red should be the one to, sort of follow that line, which we have already seen Ronnie O'Sullivan perform previously. And it's now just going to be down to getting that cue ball in a safe place. Is he going to try and do that with loads of backspin as well? Wow, that's a fantastic shot there from Ronnie, but it's pretty much too good at the end because look at that for the backspin shot. And he's going to be lined up for the green to be taken into the left corner. But that was absolutely special for him. And yeah, surely just try and get in behind the green. Make sure you cover up the left-hand side a little bit more. Doesn't seem like he was bothered about that one too much, which, to be fair, you can understand. He was always going to try and have that right-hand side covered by the blue and the reds. So let's see what he's going to be down to. Watchalong here, because it's a really good shot there from Ronnie, but in the end, it's only going to be able to score a point out of it. But still, it's a good start. And let's see if he's going to have anything more to try and take after the shot is taken there by Watchalong. It seems like he's about to try and make contact with the only red to be in open play. As long as the cue ball avoids the green pocket, it will be a really nice shot there for the player from China. And yeah, especially for you to do that on the first time, it's going to be equally as impressive as that attempt of a snooker to be lined up in behind the green from Ronnie, where the cookie has to be taken all the way from the previous long red, taken brilliantly well into the corner. Now just looking to try and make that cue ball all the way to the right-hand side of the table. Make sure he tries to use that shot as a bit of an advantage to him as well, so that he doesn't go to waste. And I mean, he hasn't, as long as he hasn't opened up the gap towards the red at the right corner, he should be lined up nicely for an opening chance for the frame to be his for the taking here. Well, it seems like it's close. I wouldn't really make a call here in relation to this red to be taken into the corner out there. So yeah, it does seem like that red is going to be taken into the left-hand side of the table out there, but I'm not too sure if it will be down to that cue ball to try and travel all the way. So yeah, it's going to be difficult, but it's also going to be quite interesting to see. And what's going to be the decision there from Watchalong? Is he going to try and make it the long red into the corner? Seems like he's aiming for it. So let's see if he's going to be able to make that one all the way. Nope, wasn't even close. And the fact that he was trying to get that cue ball to be lined up in the point of the red, seems like it's actually worked out pretty well for him. Because in the case of him taking that red away, he would have had a chance to try and go for the pink. And right now, in the case of him missing that red, it doesn't seem like he's missed, sort of left anything here for Ronnie O'Sullivan. So he will be down just to check here for Ronnie to make sure that that certainly is the case. And then he will be down to just trying to take a red away into the right-hand side of the table. And make sure that cue is going to get past the green here, which he has. So it's a good starting point there for Ronnie. It's not quite perfectly on for the ball cushion, but he will be down here to try and get through a couple of those shots to be taken. So now Watchalong is having a look if he's going to be able to get past the red here, which doesn't seem like that's the reality that he's come up against. So just having a look here to see what can he try and make out of the situation that he finds himself very much a member of. So that's going to be down to him to try and realise the escape route. Because for now, probably the red next to the right side cushion, the closest to it, is going to be the one to try and take away there into the main bunch. And then he can try and do something more with it. Ronnie's going to be patiently waiting in his seat to try and see if he is going to have a chance to try and come away with a positive outcome. For now, it doesn't really come across as something that is about to happen here, although, we've seen that from Watchalong previously, where he's able to take the most difficult reds away into the corner and miss the simplest ones away. So he will be down to just trying to get really low onto the white and do the exact opposite of what Ronnie O'Sullivan has done into the corner. He was close. He was really, really close, but in the end, he wasn't quite close enough. And let's see if that red is finished close enough to the left middle, which to me, he certainly has. For Ronnie, certainly to try and acknowledge that red. And then, the rest should be about to follow. So if he's going to be able to get the red in the colour combination, once again, I would expect a similar story to the previous frame as well. Seems like he's not really sort of going to get bored by that red, which, the cue ball is going to be alongside the bulk line. The red is just about underneath the main point there. Let's see if he's trying to double that one in. It's going to be close. It's going to be very close indeed. I'm not sure that that was the intention. The execution certainly seems like it's going to make you that it was the case. And Ronnie was trying to play that with great intention for him. So what can he try and make out of this brown? Is he going to be down just to 1 point scored again? And a snooker to be lined up? Or is he going to try and take this one into the corner? And I feel like that was always going to be the attacking option. And he has made that one into the pocket. So, once again, Ronnie O'Sullivan is the one to strike first. And he's going to get a break of 5 points right now. About to be lined up for the red into the left part of the table as well. And just carefully making sure that that cue ball is going to find the back of the target on the pink. He hasn't really done that. So now it will be coming down to how many reds can he see there from Ronnie, and which one of them is going to be able to try and get through right now. Because if he carefully takes this pink away into the right middle, then he should still be able to get plenty of action on the cue ball, and he seems to have done that really, really well. Because, listen, there was no hand of apology. I do feel like he hasn't really meant that one, to be honest with you, because he wasn't playing for a line where there would have been a couple of colours available to him. He was playing into a place where he was always going to have a couple of reds to try and cover up the mistake for him. So now, it doesn't seem like he's perfectly happy with the way that he's landed on this pink into the middle, and just carefully try and sort of bounce and barge the other reds out of the way. Make sure he's going to have a chance for that cue ball to be positioned for those reds. And it seems like he's played that shot well to me. Not sure if his judgment is going to be the same. Certainly into the right corner. It seems like he's very keen on taking the red into the left part of the table, but just trying to take that red away into the right-hand side of the table. Make sure he's still going to be on the pink, and he will be down to carefully taking the red after it as well. So his cueing certainly seems like he's back down to a decent standard there. And make sure he will be finding the back of the pocket there with the pink. And once again, played a really nice shot there in terms of the result. And it's now going to be the break of 26 points. Make that 27. That's once again using the entirety of the pocket. Pretty sure that was intentional, as he's now going to be perfectly lined up on the pink in relation to being straight on it. So just try and take the pink away. Make sure you're going to have a chance of, taking the red after this pink, and then you should be lined up pretty nicely for the next couple of shots. Not to be quite as difficult as the previous couple that you've taken. So just once again, taking a look at the red to be taken into the right middle. Seems like the end point is still going to be very much down to Ronnie to try and, outperform himself here. Once again, taking a little bit of extra time on those shots every single time there. I'm not sure if he just finds himself in a position where he's got 3 reds, where he's not lined up perfectly on either one of the 3. So he's just trying to pick out the lesser of the 3 evils there. And in the end, going for the most difficult of those reds, trying to cut it carefully into the corner. And now we'll be down to 35 points as the advantage. 34 on the current break. And he's still looking to try and make the most out of this situation for himself. So he's straight on the pink, which doesn't really help his chances. And he's just going to be trying to play that cue ball closer to those reds. And make sure he will be down to a red to be taken into the left part of the table here. So once again, a little bit of action on for the cue ball. And he seems to have played that one about as well as he could have. Once again, it's another great shot there. It's a sequence of those that we've seen there from Ronnie. Only pink available. Yes, it is for him. The black is not going to be available until the end point of a break. The blue is out of position and difficult for you to try and get for. And the ball colours are going to be there for you, but you're not really going to be getting loads of value out of them, because the problem for this position is that it's 48 points, but ultimately it's 4 reds in very difficult positions. All of those reds, I should say, not 4 reds. But then it's how do you get onto those reds from both colours? The answer is you can't. So you have to be taking those with a pink. And so far, Ronnie's managed to do that really, really well, with the 4th highest break of the match about to be renewed there. As Ronnie takes the pink nicely into the left corner. About to be positioned for the red to be taken into the left-hand side of it as well. And then he's going to have the pink to back up. So the break pretty much here has been consisting of only pinks, but that's been a necessity for Ronnie to try and do, to make sure that he doesn't allow his opponent to come back to the table, at least with a competitive chance of taking this frame away from him. And he seems to have played a bit of a bad shot here in relation to a little bit unlucky. Could have got that cue ball to be further away from the other end to bridge over, but in the end, the outcome is going to be the same, of him taking this red away, and in the end, it's a break of 63 points, which if he takes that pink and 1 more red away, he's certainly going to get him with a really good head start of 7 frames to 2. Next 16, Ronnie versus Higgins. I wouldn't be looking so far ahead there, because right now, Ronnie needs to focus that he doesn't have a bad spell of 4 frames in the second session for now. Of course, the positive thing about that spell is going to be down to he had a really bad 4 frames, but he was able to still win 2 of them nevertheless. And now just entertaining the crowd. I'm not sure there is going to be a realistic chance for a century break, but there certainly should be a really good chance for another fantastic break there from Ronnie O'Sullivan, as he makes it a break of 75 points and counting right at the death, to make sure that there was only going to be 1 player to be winning the first session. And Ronnie sleeping well tonight. Yes, he shouldn't be concerned about it, and just carefully trying to take the red away. Will the second session of the Trump versus Gary Wilson match be completed? I will have to wait and see on that one. I can't tell you right now, because this one has taken loads of it, and it's also been down to Gary Wilson against Trump with the first session. I feel like it's very different when you've got 8 frames in relation to when you've got 9 frames. So I'm pretty much going to say no for now, unfortunately. But yeah, you never quite know, so keep an eye out for it. But for now, if I was to tell you yes or no, I would say no. But someone that certainly had to say yes to loads of those opportunities has been Ronnie O'Sullivan. And it is a break with 86 points, where he finishes on a high. And it will be down to 7 frames over 2 of the advantage that Ronnie will have to take down into the second session. 9 frames in, and he'll still be down to Ronnie O'Sullivan as the favourite into the 10th, and plenty more of those frames to come with it. It is Ronnie that makes his way out of the arena. The crowd certainly enjoyed it, and 9 frames of great entertainment. Just quickly on the points, 660 there by Ronnie O'Sullivan, 275 for Shegoshon, both spotted 182.88. Pot success has dropped down from 97 to 94 there, which is still incredible for Ronnie, and 82 for Shegoshon. On the opposite side of the table, long pot success 75%, down to 53 in favour of Ronnie O'Sullivan, 79 is going to be safety success down to 65 there. Once again in favour of Ronnie, and the highest break and the only century break of 113 points. I don't know why that break keeps disappearing. It's not the first time it's happened. I'll try to work on that. His highest break is 130 points out there. And yes, thank you very much, and feel free to tune in tomorrow for the 2:30 o'clock of the afternoon session. It will be Ronnie O'Sullivan versus Shergold Sean to be completed. A great match, should be finished off in great style out there. For now, it's going to be it for me. Thank you very much for everyone tuned in, and feel free to keep an eye out for the World Championship. The drama is about to get to a whole new level as we get through those first round matches to be finished, and then it's going to be down to the second round to hopefully provide us with just about as much of the action as the first one. Thank you again, and speak to you soon.